I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's okay. You guys get to hear Yang in 1 second. Sorry. I forgot to put on Discord sound. Ba, 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 ba. Um, audio device. Oh no.
Sensei, go.
I'll get it. Give me 1 quick second. Ah!
My fridge better be safe.
Hey, I can just torment you while you can't speak to them for a second.
Mm-hmm.
How do you app capture? You can't speak yet. They can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Hey, audio capture. Just go try yapping.
Yap. Yip, yap, yap. Yoop. Yap.
Hey, you're yapping. I see it. I see it. I fixed it. Don't read my fridge. No.
Project, you have express permission to raid her fridge.
No. I need my nuggies. No. Welcome in, guys, by the way. Hope we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
So many children. Look, that's an actual thing in Wildermyth, everyone.
I know.
So many kids. Or just adopt random people off the street.
I wonder what a sheep-fox hybrid looks like.
Weirdly funny. Now, the real question is, there's other forms of me.
I see, like what?
Well, I've got Orca, I've got Succubus, I have Cerberus, which is 3 sizes, I've got Griffin, and then there's the joke forms.
Those all sound
the 2
fun.
that will never become models.
Aw, man. No jokes for fun.
No hyena, no water buffalo, I'm sorry.
Damn. Pain. Do you want to introduce yourself before you get started?
Yeah. I'll do it. Alright, I am Yang Koete, Kitsune Sensei VTuber. I don't just teach foxes, I teach home ec, health, and gym. So if you want to learn stuff, or just see me be a fucking goober, you can just come onto my channel. And I'm trying to get monetized on YouTube.
I'll give you a shout out anyways while we're here, just for the sake of...
Please follow Lucia if you've not. Autumn is a good bean.
I'm okay.
I'm gonna draw her getting railed. Look,
thank you for the follow, Lucky. You get look at the claw machine. Look, there's a claw machine.
There's a claw machine.
Yeah, it's right next to you.
Oh my gosh.
Hi, Jeej.
Jeej.
Oh no! It's raid the fridge, the bedroom, and the what the hell?
Don't.
Thank you for the follow, Roderick.
Her copper wire.
I need my wire. How else is my air fryer gonna work? Yeah.
Follow her gold mat. Yeah.
I forget I had that one. It's the auto gen.
Yes. Put it at 650 next.
I need to. I know. I'm waiting for 700 for something big.
Change the goal to 700, you coward.
Okay, Mom. Fine. Oh my God, you're my mom. What the hell?
I mean, we're not related, but you can definitely call me mommy.
I hate women.
Okay, fine. I'm breathing. Bye.
Oh my no.
I have been told my tongue is quote unquote magical, so hey.
Ooh, good to know. I see.
Yeah.
How the fuck do I edit? I'll edit the goal later, whatever. I can't figure it out right now. I'm stupid.
Top wire still out of the option, Yang. Yeah, here's another good one. You could rake people's lawns. How about you do that?
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, shovel the snow, rake some lawns, yard work, weed.
Hey,
Don't
nuggies.
pick the weed, though. You need to pick the weeds. Yeah, lawn care. Fuck that. Well, then you don't get to do anything for getting paid with food. I'm sorry.
Chicken nuggies, the premier payment. How else do you buy sex? Nuggie.
High tech.
I'll walk up to a woman, I'll hand her 20 nuggets, and just say sex, and it'll work.
Are you just basically just basing it off of Scout from TF2? Hey, I got a bucket of chicken, you got a bucket of chicken, you want to make love?
I'm just addicted to chicken nuggets.
I will say, though, popcorn chicken is better than chicken nuggets.
Depends.
The really crispy, crunchy popcorn chicken that you can get, like, the freaking...
That can be really good.
But here's the real question. What is the side dish?
I do fries because I'm baby.
And what kind of fry, though? That's the real question.
I I usually just like crinkle or shoestring. I don't know. Steak can be okay once in a while.
Shoestrings are for cowards, honestly.
I just take whatever's there and...
Well, what if you had to pick? Like, if you had the option for any fried potato in the world, like tater tots, hash browns, steak fries, shoestrings, what would you take?
There's waffle fry.
Waffle fry is always fucking good because you can scoop up all the sauce and everything. It's got like a dipping sauce.
I lost tracking for a second. Adam nodded at lightning speed.
It's okay.
She was excited.
I'm not one of your fried chicken tramps. I'm a woman. You want to be my lover? Then earn it. Seduce me.
God damn it. Please.
It's such a good line, though.
It is. Oh, I made myself bigger. Oops.
You can't seduce anyone. Lucky Roderick goes seduce each other.
Cats fucking each other. It's crazy.
Bunny and Koi Fox.
I wonder if this lets...
What?
I was just wondering. I don't know if this is gonna have us do pre-made characters or new characters.
I hope not, but...
I don't know. I mean, I have a bunch of pre-mades from, like, runs, but...
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it'll just take something from your legacy, worst case.
I mean, Annie and I made a lot of characters, so hey.
A fun game.
Alright. New story.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. We were going multiplayer where we're just going to do random things because we don't...
Yeah.
Like, I assume we've both seen, like, at least Age of Ulstrix and Enduring War.
Yeah. We'll just be horny and yap.
Yeah. Honestly, that's fine by me.
Well, yap, have a good time, be horny, be degenerate. Drink some water, maybe.
I've got no water, I've got tea all day.
I have soda.
What kind?
Pepsi.
Oh.
All of my tea's in my kitchen. I drink Earl Grey.
Oh, why? I hate Earl Grey.
I am sorry!
It's, like, I've always had, like, certain foods that were just too much in quantity when I was, like, living with other people. Like, they would
was Earl Grey tea one of them?
Earl Grey tea, and for, like, sweet things, there was only, like, brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tarts and Moose Box ice cream, so I can never have those again unless if I'm in a certain mood.
I feel like Earl Grey is, like, the most basic tea that just works with anything. That's why, probably. It's, like, a very basic black tea.
It needs cream, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like milk and sugar with it for, like, childhood tastes.
But if it's, like, if I'm having just plain tea, I just have chai. Like, I've got spiced chai right now.
I like chai, or I like, oolong.
Oolong's pretty good.
There's a really good blend of oolong called, like, Iron Goddess of Mercy.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's Iron Goddess of Mercy oolong tea is the blend.
I'm gonna Google that one.
Really good blend. I liked it when I had it. I had, like,
if you ever get the chance, I would highly suggest Eastern Shore Tea Company because they have all these weird flavors. Like, they have Starry Night Tea, which is a black tea with chocolate, hazelnut, and toffee.
Huh. That sounds really good.
It is so freaking good. Then there's Gunner's Dog Tea, which has very little caffeine in it, but it is, like, orange and such. Oh my gosh, this is, like, very expensive tea. What the fuck?
Iron Goddess. I think it depends on where you get it.
Rishi. That makes sense. Yeah, Rishi.
Yeah, I would check. Yeah, like, I got it from a local tea shop when I had it before I moved and forgot it. I don't like doing, like, tea grounds by hand too much anymore and, like, actually sitting there and packing it. I'm lazy. That's why I drink soda over tea.
You should try birch beer if you ever get the chance.
I'll have to.
It's like a very earthy root beer, but it is like crisp and clear like lemon lime.
I may like that then.
Anywho.
Wow.
Time to make the babies.
We're gonna play a video game? It's gaming time? Oh man.
I know, right?
I don't know how to play video games.
Anyway, let's pick mods. We're gonna go for Fissiny's Hair Pack. Expanded items for weapons, armor, and offhands. It's basically like we want to customize characters. I'm sorry.
Yeah, fair. I don't have wall cotton candy. I'm in like an old like building. It doesn't have that.
Jesus. Gotta get the house meat.
It's like a converted school, like, housing building from, like, the 1900s.
You live in the quote-unquote temporary school buildings.
Kind of, yeah. What's this
Yeah, those
game?
things weren't temporary.
Wildermyth is like
Ouch, you would love this
D&D
game.
Light, kind of? I'd say
Alfie,
it's
think
D&D
of it.
Light.
It is kind of like D&D Light, but think of it like Fire Emblem-esque, where you have like
That's a
your
good
heroes and you fight in a
explanation.
grid battle. And you have 3 classes. You have Warrior, Ranger, and Mystic. Mystic is really fun because what they do for their spells is that they infuse objects and then they activate spells.
Thank you for the
It's
follow,
really good.
thank you. Claw machine! Right in front of you. It's right
Hey, those
next
are
to
my
you.
pants.
It's okay, it's just a mushroom. It's okay. Unless you had a mushroom in your pants.
I mean, I do on Fridays. Anyway.
Fun guy.
What do you want the main enemy to be?
I like random, but you could set it.
Mm,
Sheep and foxes
Yeah.
do mix sometimes.
yeah.
It's just predator and prey, it's okay.
I mean, if I had the freaking Cerberus mode, I would definitely be on it. But if you want, I can switch to Succubus.
Use whatever you want. Be whoever you want to be. Be the best you.
Mm-hmm. And adventurer difficulty?
I usually do adventure for stream, yeah. I don't want to think too hard.
Alright. So, random enemy, adventurer, and we have the 4 mods, so let's fucking go.
Fox is acting as a shepherd this time around.
I just need a stick to bonk you with.
Oh, let me... I think I have Yang's voice as high as I can. Let me check.
My voice is loud. I can move my mic a bit closer.
Yeah,
Oh, no, we make new characters. Okay, cool.
Oh! Okay. Cool.
Alright. Well, here's the thing. We have to start with
Yeah.
5. Who's gonna...
You want 3 or do you want me to have 3?
We could make it where we have 2 each and then we do
Oh
3.
yeah, we have like the medium one that anyone can control. We could
Yeah.
do that.
So, I guess I'll take the 2 on the left, you can take the 2 on the right.
Yeah, I like Brady. She looks kind of cute.
Yeah. I'm gonna rename some people. I do like Fern as a name. Fern is a good name.
Yeah, I'm renaming. You guys get to see my POV of customization. Yang's will be a surprise.
Yeah.
See, what
Attracted
the fuck
to
was that?
anyone because-
That name's ugly. I want that name back. It was Ugly Feet.
Ugly Feet?
No, Udly. U-D-L-Y.
Udly. Udly. Hey, what's your parents' name? Udly. They couldn't get a G because the chief stopped them.
Oh no, yeah, let's make Ugly Feet. She'll be...
I like Fern. Fern's a good name. Let's get her
She'll
hair
be
done.
so pretty. I believe in her.
Stats. Stats are good. History. Let's call her
Okay.
Lucky Physical Inhabited.
This game has a really cool customization.
It's so good. Physical Dreamer.
Oh, you can... I forget about the tall... Oh, I hate the tall fucking stretcher, because, like, your character gets Laffy Taffy.
Yeah. They just get elongated, nothing else. Like
Me when I see women. Boing, 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 boing. Oh, brother. Me when girls... For real? Women, am I right?
I forgot the Y just makes them like super wide.
I also like that, like, you get the choice of, like, a feminine or masculine body type voice, and you can choose, like, attractions to whatever. I'll make it
It's so
anyone.
good.
I'll let it be crazy. Maybe one of our characters will bump uglies.
Yeah. Alright, there's Fern. I modified Fern.
Okay, I
a
have
bit.
ugly feet. Now let me get this guy.
I feel like Fern can be a warrior for sure.
Good luck before I Roderick. Good luck. I hope you guys are doing good, by the way. It's a nice Saturday today.
So far, so good.
Nice. Oh, stupid auto mod. Don't censor the word gay. How dare you?
Exactly.
This guy's
But
name can
Goofish-
just be fucking Bo. Sick name.
The Goofish Snark. I like that. The Goofish Snark.
Is that the name? Yo, wait, this guy's kinda... He's kinda cute. I'll keep him. Okay. He's kinda cute.
I'm gonna take a hunter. Okay,
And then we could
Athens
share the
dog.
mystic, I suppose.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to call you
Aspects. History. I want him to be
Thrifty North Fort. Okay, I like that.
clown, dreamer, flirt. There you go.
Drifty
Romantic loner. Just like me for real.
Drifty North Fort. He
I do
is
stream.
definitely-
Honk honk. I have a clown nose now. I'm a clown. Congratulations.
Jeez.
Thank you for the head pads. We're in a circus. In the circus. Welcome to the circus, Yang.
Circus.
Yeah, it's a circus now.
Oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know the only way to kill a clown is to get rid of the nose.
No, no. Stay away. I don't trust you.
And the safest way to get rid of a clown that way is use a wood chipper.
Oh. You know, you could
someone who-
just like take it away. You don't have to like throw me in a wood chipper.
No, you have to kill the clown. Their nose will regrow the next day.
Pat,
knew
I think
someone who
she's
fucking
killing
hated
me.
Clowns. I knew someone who hated clowns.
Shoot him right in the jugular. Such a good fucking pun. Aw. For the middle girl, do we just want to spam randomize on her? Or are we gonna leave her as default?
No, I'm gonna randomize your name.
You don't like her name?
Hold
Damn.
on. I'm not even gonna try.
I have
to pronounce
fucking
it.
Ulf and Udley. I like the way that this game does like the progressive like character story though, and like they gain like
I'm gonna
my
make her
Autumn
wide
character
and
is
tall.
crazy. Oh, she's big lady, big mommy. Damn.
Big lady.
Big women are cool, and small women, and medium-sized women. Oh no.
I just saw a name that I love.
Thirsty.
Thirsty Glenn.
Oh.
And just because I'm gonna make her red as fuck.
I made Udley look like an Udley, I think. She looks very zoned out.
Let's try purple and pink. There we go.
Man,
Thirsty Glenn needs something good.
let me change her features. She's not a... Curious, lucky,
anyone.
and weird.
Alright.
I always forget how much the traits actually matter in terms of like what they do. Oh, she's cute. Damn.
Thirsty Glenn needs I like that face. Alright, stats. If you do go to personality, you can actually go to show, and it will actually like bring like the things that can actually affect her.
Really?
I'm going to
Interesting.
make her romantic.
Udley didn't know what the
hot-headed
requirements are.
Oh,
We have a lot of romantics in this part. There's 3 romantics. I guess I'm a pure romantic fucking idiot over here. Don't forget to give me control on my too, by the way, Dinkle.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
I was just affecting Thirsty.
Teacher was just gonna take away my fun.
I'm not taking away freaking Ulf and Udley.
You don't
So we
want
have
them?
we have Drifty, Fern, Thirsty, Ulf, and Udley.
Sounds like a bad
Oh.
joke.
This is like the worst backstory for everyone. I love it.
3 romantic people, a mean lady, and a nice guy.
Mm-hmm. So
It's a
we have
polycule.
the aloof peacemaker between the polycule, the goofish snark who's probably putting like everyone's food in like weird dishes, the hot-headed romantic that brought everyone together, the romantic loner that's just off to the side, but man does he fuck, poetical romantic, she just writes all the fanfics.
Maybe Ulf is secretly gay. Is he gay? What did I make him? You click him.
Ulf is attracted to women.
Oh, he is attractive. Let's make him gay. Good for you, Ulf. You're gay now. Congratulations. Go for the peacemaker.
I feel like Drifty. Did I make Drifty attracted to women? No, I'm gonna make him attracted to anyone. There you go.
Usually set anyone, but once in a while I'll do like a hard set.
Yeah. Like I made Drifty, Fern, and Thirsty. I'm going to love Thirsty.
Hopefully she doesn't die.
I mean, she's a mystic. She's gonna live at least long enough. but-
Hopefully. I really want to eventually, if I was an artist, I would honestly take the time with like so many of like the post-campaign characters, like drawing them, because like they get so
Yeah.
crazy looking and cool, especially when there's like the transformations.
Yes, like the freaking rock one is one of my
Yeah,
favorites.
Autumn has like the rock hand and everything and is missing an eye.
I love that you can just get like 2 peg legs too at the
Ah!
same time.
It's really
Anywho,
funny.
shall we start? It takes a bit of time to pull all this together. Get ready.
I like how it shows like all of the DLC on the starting screen. Wildermyth, armor and skins, Omen Road.
Mm-hmm.
Omen Road is cool, I
No.
just wish it was less linear. Oh. Are we voicing this, or are we just gonna, how are we gonna do this?
I guess we pick our own character. I love how you can. Okay, look at Utley's hair, just like
Yeah.
getting stuff on the
It's
side.
flowed. Okay, left to right, I guess?
I guess we could just voice our own characters,
Yeah.
like Drifty. So I've
Yeah.
got Drifty and Fern, and we can just like switch Thirsty whenever we need to.
Mhm.
Anyway, I'm told this fellow's kind of rude, just so you're prepared.
Rudeness is often a mark of intelligence.
Guess
I guess, yeah.
that's well, I haven't noticed such a thing. A correlation, I guess.
Just my experience, I don't know.
There, master, they're coming. 4 of them, such as they are. Should have known better than ask me. I can't convince a dog to gnaw meat.
Rudeness is often a mark of intelligence. I feel called up. Me too.
Yeah.
I'm stupid, that's why I'm not rude. Damn, talking about dogs, that's crazy.
You just gotta get the peanut butter for the dog to gnaw some meat. Anyway.
Oh no. I need my spray bottle.
Never! I'll get the super tank full of hot dog water.
Oh no. Jesus Christ.
Hey, you knew what you were signing up
I
for.
know, it's fun. It's just interesting. She's just provoking people. She's secretly a brat. I know it.
I am not a brat.
I just have to believe. I just have to believe. I just have to win.
Anyway. No, you're quite discouraging. So the ones you found must be them who are willing to look deeper, be adventurous, even imaginative in their considerations.
Interesting. Thank you, old man.
Yes, thank you, man of the elder.
You get to voice
Oh,
both
yeah.
of these.
I guess because the old man's like Fern's
Yeah.
teacher, it seems. Oh, they're just desperate people who make poor choices. I mean, so far the polycule's off to a rocky start.
You don't know me well enough to judge. Just assume I'm horny and a brat and crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the other person's cursor ends up so laggy in Wildermyth. Like, watching your cursor move on stream, it's like a strobe effect. I don't know why it's like that.
Mayhem.
The party of day travelers are soon up to the door. A voice inside bids them enter. Damn.
Get the fuck in here. Kinda late to get here. You folks get lost or something? You live pretty far.
But yes, sort of.
Thank you for appearing at our call. Fern here acted on my behalf, says the old man in the tower. Glad to have a roof. I'm Drifty North Fork.
Elf dragons. Horny brat
feel like
crazy. Do you know how little that narrates? You'll figure it out. Don't worry. Just listen. You'll figure it out.
Eh.
What were you saying though? You were speaking.
I'm just like, did you try to make a D's nuts joke or something?
No. I didn't mean to.
Elf dragons.
Listen. It was random.
It's okay. You're stuck on a bit of a stereotype happening. Hey, stereotypes get a lot of good things happening.
They do. We have the horny teacher lady, and I'm the weird librarian lady.
Mm-hmm. Great for Akito Academy to have a weird librarian.
True.
Just don't ask about the dear lady in the kitchen. She will eat you up.
Oh, that's cool.
Kitchen Crypto does some fun things.
That's cool.
And there's cheese and things, some rye whiskey, if you like the taste of rotten char. You don't have real weapons, do you? But of course, neither did you when you first started out, Yonane. Neither did she. Master Yonane Snow, by the way, is who you're in the presence of. Right, that's me. I'm a hill mage, or I'm called one. I was someone who took journeys and asked questions. Now mostly just read omens and mend thread. Age, you know.
That's all great, but not why I'm here. Damn, he doesn't care.
You don't want to listen to old men ramble?
He's not gay for old men, apparently.
He doesn't like the DILF. Or GILF in this measure.
Yeah. Oh god, it is a GILF. Oh no.
The raggedy GILF appears.
Oh no. Run.
Apologies, you're right. Here's what you came to see.
Whoa, it's a little Minotaur stabbing. That's not the Minotaur, it's the little rock. Oh man, I thought it was the Minotaur.
Mini Minotaur.
Mini Minotaur. Wasn't that like a song, like a Minecraft parody? Not
Yeah,
a Minecraft,
that
no, it was
doing
yeah,
that.
I remember that. Oh god. What?
Minotaur,
That? Oh, it's a statue. What? That little statue? But why does it look familiar?
Probably one or several among the Berry taverns. Wandered off a merchant 20 days ago.
Huh. He knows the exact day. Good for you, old man.
Deepest iconography, cow gods and all. Bull gods, yes, and on the base. Master Snow oh, sorry.
You can. Master Snow turns the statue over, showing them the crudely marked map on its underside. It's like a scribbled out bit. Something was just like, no, stop, redo.
Yeah, it's like, dude, we're chiseling a rock, we can't redo this shit.
Could go anywhere, couldn't it? Be anyone's?
Look at this buff bull guy. Since I was young, there's been deepest around here.
Oh, deepest. Interesting.
So we got them as the main threat. Okay.
Rock people.
Yeah. I mean, they're basically rock dwarves mixed with cows.
They're horny. They're hard.
We had the hard furries. Okay.
Oh,
In those
brother.
days, it was such a hush thing, and such a rare story. You'd learn of someone actually running off to join them. Change I hear. The smith had a son who did.
Two folks just this fall. Same story.
Something has got to be done. Do you see that? They're not a peaceful cult. They devour lives, and they're swelling. The lack of subtlety here is a sign. They've grown big and bold, and it means blood. Blood is coming. Oh my gosh.
Blood.
Like, old man, when was the last time you had action?
Listen, this is the most combat he's gotten in like 40 years. He like killed one goblin 20 years ago. He's riding that high, damn it.
I killed a goblin with my own chopstick here on my back. You think it's a stick, but no, it's just the one thing I have left from the Great Apocalypse back today.
No.
He's looking to form a company. I'm the first. You could be the backups. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
A company? What do we exact? Oh, hey, Duck.
Huh? Oh, it's just a rock.
Wait. No, there's a dude in the background. You can see
Yeah,
them.
yeah, they're coming.
There's figures on the path.
Really? And there's a rocket in the bottle. Shit.
Yeah.
I am not voicing that. Damn, that was good.
Look, I have done so many voices for D&D shit, I can throw my voice in many directions.
I just speak, I don't voice. I'm a pussy DM.
I can give you many ideas for voicing.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
It's all in the throat, and also a lot of exercise, so if you want to have good voices, you're gonna fucking work out.
Oh no. Oh no.
Anywho.
Not working out.
Yep, sorry.
No.
You gotta train. We're gonna pump you up.
I don't want it. I'm okay. I'll stay chubby forever. It's okay.
Everyone wants a buff librarian to look down on them and make sure that they get their
I'm
books back.
5'3". I can't look down on them.
You can kick them in their shins when you're stronger. Enjoy.
I can do that already. I have hooves, damn it.
But don't you want to just kick them even harder?
No. I'm baby.
Oh my gosh.
I don't need to kick them. I just need to verbally bully them back.
You just have people like holding their head like, how did she make such words hurt?
Callie. She's so small but mean.
Oh.
You're gonna get a
game.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
We'd be lucky to finish the chapter where we're going.
I mean, it saves wherever we're at, so we can pick up and leave as we go.
Yeah. Anyway, Deepists. I'm sorry. I don't know if they. Anyway, you're not ready for them. Hide in the cellar. I'll get them away, or at least. No, Master Snow. No hero stuff, if you don't mind.
He wants to fight on his own.
I'm still trained from the Soupocalypse. I'm sure, right? We don't want to sacrifice the old guy.
I hate that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, we can't always sacrifice the old guy.
I'm down for it.
Yeah. He's had his time. Plus, while they're all eating him, we could just kind of go around and just seizure them with our pitchforks and everything.
Wow, you're just giving him the death. Damn.
Why not, right? He's great. He's talking all this hot shit about himself.
This is why you can't trust gym teachers. The shark world out there.
Yeah. Look, that's just the orc brain coming up. Anyway. We certainly don't want to sacrifice him, but...
Yeah. He looks angry. He has RBF.
He's our boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
This is the head of the polycule. Everyone's either been married off to other people, just go to their separate polycules, or he's just like... You just killed him. Anyway.
Be glad the succubus brain isn't activated. Oh.
Oh, I can activate that at some time, but anyway.
Oh no, it's gonna happen. It's gonna be monsters. It's gonna activate. You've raided my fridge? No! My nuggies! I have like 4 bags. Stay away. Master Snow rips back the lid of a compartment and pulls out. What's he pulling out, you think?
Oh, whoops. I'll read along with later. Sorry.
No, you're good. What do you think he's gonna...
You take this. Use it.
What do you think he's gonna pull out? What's your guess?
A great spear, a shield, or a fine bow.
What do we want?
Hmm.
Do we want to stabby? Do we want to impale? Do we want to shoot? Or do we want to protect?
I am rolling a die. I'm gonna roll a D12.
4 bag. Now they are mine. Wow.
I'm gonna roll a D12. If it's 1 through 4, it's the spear. If it's 5 through 9, it's the shield. If it's the rest, it's the...
Dice!
It's a shield.
Okay. You're the boss.
Keep the flintstones off your sternums. I'll take the big one. See if you can keep the others off my back.
I'm sorry your tea infuser's gone, Lucky. It sounds pain.
No.
Hey, who are we giving it to? It says Uddly has a
Uddly
spot. Okay, Uddly feet, get him.
Uddly, go ahead. Wait, is Uddly a warrior?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Go get him,
got
Uddly.
pitchforks and like bows and sticks.
Then Uddly here with a fucking axe and a shield.
The Woken and the Woken Slingers.
Yeah, this game's combat is like Fire Emblem movement, like Yang said, and then it's kind of just real time. We can just do actions like this. Like I just shot, and it's like XCOM with like chance.
Or
and
Fern can go over here and stab a bitch.
Let's go gambling. What snack does the sheep have? I don't know what I have in my thing right now. Not me. No, I'm not a snack.
Okay, Thirsty. Go, Thirsty.
Go get him, Thirsty. I believe in you.
I'm gonna move up Drifty and get him up here so we can have the defense.
Makes sense. We have a little wall, our line of people.
Yeah. Not gonna move Ulf?
Nah, it's just... I already shot with him, so he couldn't move. Didn't let him, yeah. It takes his full action. You can get the killing blow. Go. I believe in you.
And Fern here. But then Drifty, stab!
Damn, we win! We killed 2 enemies! Woo!
Yay! We killed 2 dudes while the old man is handling the bull man.
Thank you for the head pat, Pumpkin. Thank you.
Drifty has grown stronger.
Ooh, what's he gonna get? Fox fight?
Drifty has +1 speed. Once per combat as a swift action, activates to dodge the next 2 attacks against them, disables passive.
3 pierce is nice. He could pierce.
That's true. Could also get Flash Cone. Drifty throws a Flash Cone that blinds enemies and deals 2 magic damage. If they're an ally they were hidden, that's actually pretty dang good. Fern is now a Greenhorn warrior.
Take backslam. She could be a mean bruiser.
I mean, she's got a frying pan on her right now for some reason.
No, not eating the nuggies. It's mean.
We need nugs, but yeah, I like backslam for her.
Your students raid and they eat all my nugs. How dare they?
What do you want Thirsty to have?
She could be open-minded.
I mean, her being open-minded and being named Thirsty is great.
Okay, Ulf. Ulf Dragons is nuts. You know what? You can be compulsive. I believe in you. An ugly feat. Oh, she's a ranger.
Oh, fuck, right. We lost the shield.
She has it. It's okay. She has it. You guys, she has to... Yeah, she still has it for her other weapon. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just me at Autumn.
Have you ever seen? Okay.
Yeah. Let's take fire arrows. That's fun.
Okay,
ooh, a ring.
Who would get the potency?
Potency's damage, if I remember. It's for interfusion, so that's for casters.
So
Ulf or thirsty. Up to you.
Who would benefit from it? Because it usually would show... Ulf would get... Well, yeah, Ulf would get it to 2, so let's give it to Ulf.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Thirsty would just get 0.7, so that's kind of...
We gave Pretty Boy a ring. That's crazy.
He is now the ring bearer. We just need a key maker. Master Snow, we won! And we got these clothes out of nowhere!
Whoa. The battle lasted moments. Now the night's gone sullen.
Ah, young Fern, you know much, but you're still so green. Mighty your experience, my girl. May Mother Moon protect you all. You are now blood in ancient veins of a great and many-faced champion. You'll rush into darkness, and others one day will follow.
Several days later in the mountain dawn. Are those beans warm yet?
Beans. Want to stick your paw in and see? I'm not paying much attention. I'm still thinking about what Master Snow said days later.
She has nothing to think about.
My sister Yonatha, we used to roam this world together, adventuring, messing with spirits and all. Called her Lucky Spark. She was younger. She married a good and beautiful woman, smiling-eyed Morgadell.
Damn, lesbians. Wahoo!
We love it. But Yonatha's wife, she fell awfully sick. An infected shoulder gash, see? And the fool sister mine went to the cult healers for help. Next I saw her, she'd been made into a slack-faced thrall. Her wife died in this house, fevered and lonely under my care.
Damn.
That was 50 years ago. Since then, I've watched my strength fade, and now the bull cult rises from the earth. I find I can't chase them back into it.
Do you want me to read Thirsty this time?
I mean, we could switch back and forth.
Okay. I'll read her. Old Yanin had to kill his sister, didn't he? What a tragic and noble deed. What a beautifully sad and I'm sure exacting thing to live with. Sighing wind tugs her clothes. Tug tug. It's as he told us anyway. Hill to hill and field to field. Until we can sail land as ours, under sky and under earth. Damn, he's a poet. Good for you, dragon.
Yeah.
Are we naming them something custom?
What is the name of the polycule?
Do we make it custom? I think we have to, right?
Yeah. What do you want to do?
I'm thinking. It's kind of hard. Like, the premates are usually funny, but, like, they're not, like, the energy I think we have here. None of these ain't.
Comrades of Generation, the Dawnlings of the Queer Lion!
What'd you get?
The Dawnlings of the Queer Lion. That
okay, yeah.
Good.
Okay, yeah.
The Dawnlings of the Queer Lion. These are the stories of the Dawnlings of the Queer Lion. Be remembered.
It's so goofy. We have the forage, right?
Hey.
Oh, yeah, we can upgrade. It does it for both of us.
Oh, gotcha. So we have bow, longbow.
I don't think we have any resources yet looking at it.
We do not, but I did want to see through the mod. We have crossbow, dagger, rapier, flail, war flail, wand, and staff. So everyone gets that apparently. Oh, everyone gets all the weapons. Oh, geez.
That's cool, actually, huh? The specialist bow section's interesting. I think that's new, I think. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, because we would only have bow and crossbow, but now we have a long
Oh, that
bow.
shield's is a 2-star shield, by the way.
Oh my gosh, really?
Damn, Adelie, go get him. With your dagger and shield.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
I think I just...
I think I closed it. Oh, did you?
Okay, good.
I just closed out of it. No, my glasses! Okay. Damn it.
I need to see, like, what I actually did with Utley. Okay, I didn't do anything. We're good. We're good. Okay.
Got my glasses stolen.
Well,
School's out of hand. Those darn kids coming in, stealing my glasses.
I mean, you kind of have to deal with it.
Thank you for the head pat. Okay, do we want to go up, left, right, or down?
Well, I feel like we could split the party a little bit, maybe. Like, we could send probably one Mystic, one Ranger, and then Fern. And then we could just send the other two elsewhere, because honestly, just keeping...
Do we want to go left and right, then?
Yeah.
Okay, I think you said one Mystic Warrior Ranger, so you could probably do, like, Thirsty, Thurn, and Drifty or something.
Yeah, sure. So
and then I could do Ulf and Utterly going right. Oh, wait, oh, this one works too. Yeah, this works.
Let's go.
And then for the other one...
Ulf and Utterly going right.
Yep.
Oh, left.
We did it! They keep calling me bottom, which is true.
I mean, you kind of are.
It's okay, I'm a bottom.
You're a good chap.
Oh, we have a fight.
Alright, we have North Cal Mine and Fion's Lurk. What do we want?
There's a little fight here on the map. I'm not a bottom.
So, our secondary enemy is Thrixel, apparently.
Interesting.
That's gonna be fun.
Let's do the 2 on whatever first, I guess, and just see how the 2 can handle on their own, right?
Alright, yeah, let's go.
Oh, I have to control it on my own. Oh, because it's my 2.
Yeah, they're your 2. Enjoy.
Oh no, it's just me. This is the densest forest I've ever seen. How old is this place, I wonder?
Alright.
The trees are so thick, even the noonday sun can't reach the ground. Damn ugly. She's thinking too hard. She's supposed to be stupid. Our tags do include bottom and girl failure and vor.
Yeah.
We haven't seen a single living thing, but I can't shake the feeling that we're being Shh! I see someone. She sees her own feet. I didn't see
sees her hair just clipped
Hide!
off.
Yeah, it's floating. It's so...
Her magical hair.
She's a magical... He's so angry now.
You don't order me around.
Oh.
Oh, person.
Lady. Wait, it's called By Hoof and Horn.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Autumn, run.
I have to kill you.
She looks sad. Maybe she's lost. Hello? Are you lost? Oh, shit, no,
Sorry, you scared the life out of me.
I hit too fast.
It's okay. What are you doing here?
We could ask the same of you. We're hunting the horned monsters that live here.
With a spoon. I suppose we are here for the same thing, then.
You came by yourself to kill these vermin?
They're not vermin. Or, they weren't always this way. They were people once, and one of them was of my life.
Damn, we got the sad widow. Damn.
The sad monster fucker.
She has like a Karen haircut.
Oh my gosh. Yunthai manager.
Your beloved was stolen from you by evil sorcery?
Oh shit. No sorcery, just words. Evil, slippery words. Discussing promises of power and taunts of hidden treasures beneath the earth.
That's like saying good girl to a bottom.
Good girl.
Shut up. Okay, anyways, you gotta read.
Hey, she gay. She's too far gone now, my wife. Last time I saw her, all that was left in her eyes was some primal rage that terrified me. I'd give anything to have her look at me in that special way only she had.
It does work on me, sadly. I'm weak. I just go quiet. And my
It's
glasses
good,
are
isn't it?
being kept. Damn, it is good. I like it. It's a good power. Use it for evil.
I wish I'd had the strength to strike her down there and then, but I couldn't.
There's something in her eye.
I'm here to end this before she can hurt anyone else. Choose.
Oh, do we choose?
Do we get another ranger?
Do we want another one? I mean, she'll sit there on the map and we can use her. Do we want a lonely lesbian?
Sure, lonely lesbian.
Okay, Ulf, join us. We will do this task together. He sees another gay. He has to help.
Fellow guy, thank you for your offer. Truly, I was not sure how I was going to manage this on my own.
Oh, is she gonna fight us? Oh, I wonder if you'll get to control her then.
I hope so.
Is she set to anybody?
Yeah, I can control her.
Okay, nice. You get to do something this combat now.
Yay!
Yeah, so the magic in this game is you interfuse to objects like Yang said. So for example, this rock, it has a purple magic on it. I can shoot rocks from rock now. And it has like an XCOM style defense. Really? Interesting. And then this game also has like an XCOM style blocking, like coverage. Neat little mix of stuff.
You
know what? I'll silk step.
Yeah. I'm gonna be just here. I'm gonna silk step in a moment to get...
Thank you for paying your nuggy tax.
Nugs. Oh, jeez.
Oh god, she just got shot. Lesbian down.
Lesbian nearly down.
Okay, Wolf, you gotta go help out, homie. Don't let the lesbian die.
Cannot be seen by enemies. Damage that will hit and ignores all armor.
I pinned him. I got him.
I'm gonna try to get the slinger down.
I killed one.
Okay.
You want to steal my nuggies? Give it back? No.
Nugs. Oh, geez, there's another one right there.
He's coming to say hi.
That is 86% chance. Oh, that's... Yeah, you can get them.
Yeah, I'm dealing with those two. If you want to deal with the one behind us.
Yeah.
Hanzo, you might want to move back a bit to like behind like the log or something when you act, I think. Maybe.
Eye is the issue. We can always defend, but even then...
Yeah, you could stay invisible for an extra turn. It's probably fine.
Yeah.
Or you could kill one of the ones up there, probably, but hopefully she doesn't get hurt.
Killing is a 74% chance, the only issue.
You could just move backwards, like here, between the two objects.
Yeah. Or I could just run away like a coward and just
You
be over
could.
here.
You could just go back and be a
fuck it.
ranger. Old lady doesn't want to die today.
Yeah.
Not today, you young kids. Damn, Wolf. Get him. Oh shit, he got
Ulf
shot.
smacked.
They hate the gays. They shot him. No.
I'm gonna attack this dude. Yay.
Damn. I was about to throw a rock at him.
I'm sorry.
Dare you? You now owe me all your money.
Not all my money. I have like $2 in my bank account.
$2, please. Thank you.
No. I refuse.
Please?
No. I need to pay
Wait,
rent,
oh wait, you know what I can do? I can do this. I can move him.
Hey.
Oh, that's useful.
Udley got smacked.
It's okay, it's to set us up.
Udley needs more armor. Okay. Gotta shoot the fuck out of him.
I'm gonna throw a rock. I like rocks.
Also, when characters are standing next to each other, they get like a little bit of armor and defense.
Yeah, we did it!
Yay!
Udley and Ulf get XP, but not the old lady, I guess.
I guess she was just like a temp party member, maybe.
Ooh, who wants a sash? Who wants to be kinda ranger vibey? Look good on Fern, probably.
Fern would probably be good with that, yeah.
I'd vote for Fern.
Okay, Fern. Fern gets a sash.
Let's go.
Warding on a warrior is good.
That villager is still here. Oh, I heard that backwards. That's the last of them. The deepest have been dealt with. What will you do now?
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know. There's nothing left for me in my village. I just can't go back to that life, knowing those creatures are out here.
She's kind of hot.
She is kind of hot. She is sporting the same fashion from the latest in sports bras with Udley.
Her and Udley have their tits out, but Udley hides it with her hair.
Tits out, bows drawn, bitches ready.
Hair floating.
Let me come with you. I can be useful in a fight. I won't slow you down.
Does that mean it's a toupee that's floating there?
She just no, it's like she just like, tapes someone's like beard onto her chin. It's like just slightly dangling, just that like see-through tape.
It kind of looks like that because of the way it just.
I don't know. We don't really know this person. I say no. We're called to our paths in different ways. You're welcome to join us. Yeah, I mean that's legacy points.
Might as well have more people, I guess, right? We'll have 3 and 3. 2 parties. Welcome to the dawnlings of the queer lion, Yante.
I say that's good. Oh shit! I'll go back.
You okay? Oh, sorry.
Z back. Okay. Oh. Thank you. Won't bring my beloved back. Maybe I can help others to avoid the fate and get a new beloved.
Legacy points -2. Damn.
Yeah, but we did get someone really cool.
We picked up a lesbian.
Lesbian.
And we can secure this now.
Yeah, I mean honestly, we're gonna do that, and then we can do the assault.
I love how it shows Fern down here, even though she's not here.
We want to find an item, right?
Yeah, I think we should. I mean, it's early game, right?
Yeah. So we're gonna do
these 3. Yeah.
Then
we can hit enter, and then we can do the other one.
Yay! Combat.
There's a little fight on the surface, yeah, and also control thirsty.
Yeah.
There is no sheep. They promised me horns and they promised me hooves. I got no sheep.
I mean, we did kill some people that were probably bothering the sheep.
I want sheep. I want sheep women. I want satyrs. I want bitches. You have an ad in 4 minutes. Ooh. If I have to, I'll delay it.
Okay.
As if I could control thirsty. I can too.
You could. I mean, you can voice her if you want this time.
See, Yang believes in me. I can do it. No maidens, no bitches. I keep looking at the sky. She's looking at the ground.
Yeah.
Wish I could talk to a Thrixie right now. Share pie. Know what I mean? She's a monster fucker.
Really? Why?
Just because, I don't know, I'm curious to know what makes the Thrixel's ink-smelling little heart race. She is a monster fucker.
Like...
And I could also...
She wants bugs.
She does. She's weird. She's a bug fucker. And I could also do with a rest, maybe. Maybe we both could. Maybe I'd ask the Skitter for the thing if there wasn't some piece of the future we could each promise the other. She's a monster!
He's not king shaming, he's king asking why.
That's the hobby.
Say bro right now. He's like, well.
What? Can't you say something?
Huh? Well,
That's you. I'm not doing it.
I don't know.
She can take 6 werewolves? Damn.
In a fight, right? In a fight, right?
Sure, yeah.
Curse Flash. I should really give you the monster fucker bingo.
I've done it before. I think I had everything tracked, or maybe -1.
We didn't string much sleep together since we entered those thickets. Sorry I didn't notice. So, I mean, don't get far from me if you can help it. I'm better rested.
Yeah, but I'm usually alright. Thanks.
She's just into the night, just furiously going at it. Just this
it's this. I know this. Okay. Cool event.
I'm not making every.
Yeah, we don't need to do it. It's fine. That's audience. That's their job. Well, here's another weird mess. Don't eat my nuggies.
You got a knack for finding them. The nuggies.
No, my nuggies. It's 3rd wall breaking, 4th wall breaking. I'll snooze ads for right now because we're still doing this mission.
Alright.
It does feel that way. Hey, you too.
Me, since when? Bug. Watch it.
Cat jumping at him and leaving. You eat your nuggies and steal your blanket. That's fucked up and evil.
Jeez.
Hey. Is it sad that its playmate ran away?
That's a sweet interpretation. Don't fuck it.
Hi, Rag. Welcome in.
Hi.
We have horny people in our party.
Yeah, we made a polycule.
The Dawnlings of the Queer Lion.
Yeah. We need to make that like a tavern or something with like a little like coat of arms and whatnot with like just two lions like making
That'll
out.
work. Lion bitches or lion bros kissing. Kiss.
I just want to make like, you know how like the old style like English lions are on the flag?
Yeah.
I just want like them just having like the face sucking meme.
Yes.
It does look to be sulking, doesn't it? But it's hard to know why.
Owner's not home? Makes no sense someone would abandon the place with all this stuff. Unless this goon thing had something to do with it. I'm not doing it. You don't have to, girl.
Summer. I'm sorry.
You're good, sorry I cut you off.
It's been since summer, possibly. The cold clothes are up on their hooks.
I think this makes a lot of noise. I'm not imagining it. The thing's depressed.
Maybe, but let's not be the ones to wipe a tyrant's tears.
Well, it doesn't seem to hate us.
I'll keep an arrow out all the same.
I like this guy.
Oh wait, look, she came back.
If it even notices us at all.
Kibby.
Kitty.
Is it maybe that the cat keeps bothering this thing?
I don't know. There's this.
Book. Everything alright?
A little book.
Whisk.
You're doing good on the sound.
I'm trying my best.
I believe in you. You're SFX lady.
I mean, I had the best SFX around. It's good when there's a book.
Yeah. This one's a weird journal, notes, records of a hard thing. A task. No. Oh. Masturbation journal, day 1.
Day 1 of nonstop nut November.
Turning into a cat. Fuck, it's over. Can I try and read some?
They said the barbs will tell us they cannot.
No.
Do you want to, I guess?
So it starts day 1. Today I start my dark little spell journal. So it's, yeah, spell journal. Flipping through, there's lists and drawings, diagrams, penises, but it goes on.
It's just like an anatomical diagram of each like species. It's like from the Icelandic Museum of Phallus.
I shall here document lucidly and diligently as I may.
You're just making it worse with that expression there, Thurston.
My preparations, my processes, my observations, I do not yet know how and to what effects the spell shall succeed, but I am resolved in my course to see it through and find the orgasm.
It just gets worse as we read.
I'm just adding though to make it better. And there's an amendment. See it almost through. The final turn scares me. Damn, she's scared of an orgasm. It's threatening magic we channel! Exclamation point.
It's just constant edging. She thinks that the cumulative, just freaking, like, expeditious amount of pleasure will just fucking kill her since she's been edging for years. You're saying this person wrote out excla...
Of course not.
Cramped indoor hour passes.
Day 10. The spell is cast, and yet today she languishes. Same as yesterday. Sleeps and raises her eyes blearily like a cat 9 times her age.
Her voice lends listenable music to the writer's unstylish lines.
Day 34. I grow share. I can't nut. Small signs that seemed like delusions of hers. Manufactured meanings. Sprouted of a woman's hope wild imagination. They like letters retraced, becoming starker. Clearer. Things are changing. It's the no-nutting clarity they talk about. She's becoming a wizard.
Herb dust, the steeped in smoke of incense, books in their book covers, the tire beams of rosewood. These soft old cottage smells like a combine. Oh my gosh.
Jesus.
Blanket weights, the malt door odor sinks around their shoulders. It's the smell.
It's musky. It's musky.
Growing especially comfortable in this place in time like winter warmth. It's like, don't turn on the light spell in here.
No black light spell. Last entry. Noticing the rating's gone weirder. I like it better, but it makes me more, I don't know, melancholy. Who says melancholy? Day 62. My brain's become a fiddle string.
Oh.
As vibrating focused, lonesome as that, my mind narrows, and every thought is a pressed note along that stingling single strand. You say melancholy? Damn, good for you, A-pop, you're smart. Yeah. I don't say big words. A solitary stem, from which not every sound or contemplation I would once have easily produced, may now flower.
Someone likes metaphors.
Perhaps old age would have always been like this, at least shy. Shy continues to mend. For its first time today, she ate with gusto. The whole herring I brought her. I've got back in my old diaries to check. It's been just over 2 years. Damn.
Jeez.
2 years in not November. That's crazy. And as I must have noted previously, it's that extended span of smallest changes I find most heartening. The pattern and pace speak to me of momentum, a steady motion that may carry forward far into the future, if near her forever. Or never near. I find myself fearing the end, but fear too is a new darling of mine. Mortal fear. Fresh and clear and bright, it confirms to me that the world keeps its bargains. She strengthens as I waste down. Oh, ad hit. God damn it.
Aww.
It's okay. This fate is what I wrought for myself and for her. Let's not be sad. I was too busy reading.
We are enjoying our reading.
As subs get to hear, it's okay. And though it appears the tweaks I made failed, I think of that midnight orchid so I arduously hunted and harvested, so carefully separated, that those efforts have done nothing to mitigate or smooth out the transfers of my years. Let's not get down about it.
Wish this? No, I don't know. I feel for her, though.
Oh. It's a rough one, kind of, huh? But, I'm quite free of any regrets. Gratitude is what I feel. If you are reading this, believe me, mostly, I am grateful.
No.
Now I wish to say, if you see Shy around, chase her off. That cat will live 1,000 years. I don't know where she'll go, but don't let her waste her new life here.
No.
For here I will soon be bound. To what extent I shall eventually diminish. It seems hard to guess. I suspect I shall be nothing but a shadow soon. Oh. Lightless, thoughtless, meaningless, and without memory, a shade. May you live long, dear reader, never needing to learn the lengths you'd go to save the ones you love. Damn.
No.
This is sad pet owner stuff.
Yeah.
Damn.
Trading it your life so your cat can live forever.
That's deep. She signs her name, Arthet Sedge, foolish witch of Link Meadow.
Brave, this woman. And sad. And this shadow thing is what's left of her?
Seems like.
Alright. We can do what the lady wanted and we let either cat away from her, or...
You can...
protect her from her own selfishness. Oh.
Which one do you want to go for? The right one's kind of interesting. It's like open-ended. Left one's like listening to her wishes. So yeah, if we want to listen to her.
You know what? Yeah, let's listen to her.
Okay. But I hate how depressing it is, just leaving her alone. Alone like this. Whatever it must be like being a shadow eternally.
Throft. Yeah, but what's... Throft. Burn it. Appears to me would be what she's asking.
Thank you for the follow, dead robot. Thank you, claw machine.
Meow.
It's Jeej. You think burn it? The journal?
Setting fire to a book is never as easy as it sounds, but thirsty gets the oven hot enough.
Yeah, thirsty, get it.
Page corners catch and the flames start to eat. And when the heat is high, with a kind of hunger, the shadow leaps.
Get back from ads and I hear Yang go meow. Yeah, she's a cat girl now.
Only 50% when Griffin is there. And joins the Black River. Flowing into a wide and already smoke-dark sky.
Damn.
Chibi.
Standard experience.
A little later. Supposed to meet up around here. The Cleft Hill, weren't we?
Is this one cleft?
Isn't it like pretty cleft? Kibby.
Oh, we can ask the cat. Oh, we can give one of them a cat. Do you think Drifty would have a cat?
I feel like Drifty would be the crazy cat boy.
Okay, we're giving him a cat. He's a cat boy now.
Drifty gets a cat. It's good having you, but please stay only as long as you wish.
Damn, you got a companion.
Drifty finally got some pussy.
No.
Another story of how Drifty met Shy. Thirsty, why aren't you with... Oh, there they are. They'd go together wherever they're after they want. Yawn.
Thirsty looks so mad. She looks so pissed that you got the cat. If we do need after this, if you end up needing like a quick drink break or anything, since we ended up having to read through that, feel free to let me know.
Yeah. I mean, I've been drinking tea every so often.
Just making sure.
So where are you going to go for first? Because I can stop the...
I'm going to shoot him with a driver because I have the big bone lance ready. I'm going to hit him with my bone.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, Thirsty, hit him with the bone. Damn, pierced.
With Drifty, I can shoot the Dwever, and that won't kill it. Okay, but what if I do...
Smack it with Fern, maybe?
Yeah, I'm going to go for this thrust right here, and then I'm going to put Fern in the way, and... Wait, I can backslam, right?
Ooh. I would imagine that as like a fucking chest bump.
Smack!
Damn.
With a frying pan, no less.
That's crazy, a wooden frying pan.
Right.
Right, yeah, the dodge.
The cat has the dodge, so that's always good.
Bam! I'm stealing your kill.
That's fine. I mean, we have to go through here, I think. Yeah.
Thirsty is thirsty for the KD.
Yeah, alright. Gonna move Drifty up here, and I'll wait for your turn to open the door.
I have to be the door opener? Damn.
No, I was gonna say, like, you can wait.
Okay.
Kind of just guardian.
I see, it's smart. I'll
and
move up here.
Fern can open the door.
Smart.
Oh, hey there.
I'm gonna spit some fire, watch this.
Because I can. Shoot.
Nice. I always like this game's combat. It's a nice, like, simple flow.
It is. Anyway, I'm gonna just kind of stand right here and guardian.
Fern the Barbarian.
Ferdinand the Barbarian. Oh, they can interviews, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna step up here, Thirsty.
Okay.
Oh, we're all up here now.
Those only have 2 HP. I could do a flash cone.
I could rock it, or you can do that. It's up to you.
Flash cone. Blind.
0 damage, but
and I
blind.
can shoot.
Nice.
Alright. Guardian. Because she still had that. Yay, we murdered.
We rocked. I like how there's like extra map on the corner we don't get to go into.
She's just there.
A snakestone belt.
Ooh.
We could give it to the lesbian. We could give it to one of the sorcerers. Give it to Drifty. It's
Drifty got a
like,
cat.
looks like Yanthe has the lowest dodge stat, or Fern.
Fern doesn't really need dodge, she needs armor.
Yeah. We give it to Yanthe then. Okay.
Yeah. Yanthe gets a belt. She gets the swagger.
Old bitch swag.
Someday people will move back to North Calmine. Drexel husks will fall apart and the fog will be blown far and away. Children will find homes for spirits here. Young people will build barns alongside their sweethearts. Old people will trade in iron and salt.
Give one guy a cat and then he starts talking about sweethearts and good things.
Guy is just like thinking about his future, just petting a cat that lives for thousands of years.
Get out with him.
I mean, that's a freaking awesome cat. You don't have to worry about dying of old age. And at the end, the oldest will die peacefully in their beds the way it should be. You seem quite keen on it all, thinking of staying? It's too late for me. Adventure's been stirred into my blood. The best we can do is keep hope moving and hope to leave peace in our wake.
Outdoor
Yay!
cat, the menace to the ecosystem.
Immortal outdoor cat, yeah.
That thing's gonna kill so many birds.
Alright.
We can claim North Cal.
Okay, that's going to be secured. This is going to be secured by them.
This was the quickest hour on stream in a long time, goddamn.
Yeah.
It's already been almost an hour and 20 minutes. That's crazy.
We are insane with time.
We're yapping. Big yappers. Fion's
okay,
Lake. Thorough delving through the mysteries of Fion's Lake has proven rewarding. Perhaps one day they'll tell us to... Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, it's just like, freaking Ulf staring at her. It's like, we're moving sacks of grain.
She's so happy. Perhaps one day they'll tell our story for moving these sacks of grain. Fion's Lake will return to the hands of the common folk while they tend it. The state will provide resources at the end of each chapter. 2 ingots and 1 spell thread. Nice.
I love spell thread as a resource.
And a scarf. Oh.
Hey! Oh, we get 2 things
right,
because they play at the same time. Please, let's not fight over who gets the item.
Fern's gonna punch him in the gut.
Yeah. It's like, it's my item.
Oh, it's a bell.
I thought that said the bell of coming.
No. You need bonked.
Never. Everyone has such high accuracy.
I mean, we could give it to...
I say we vote Udley because I think she has the lowest accuracy.
Okay.
No,
all for Udley. I mean, I don't know if that affects spells, does it?
Yeah.
Attacks and abilities. Pitted against opponent's avoidance, block and dodge in order to calculate hit it. Now, Udley, you know what? Ugly feet, you can have it. Look at that fucking belt on her.
Okay, who gets the armor?
Probably Fern?
Let me look through everyone's. Udley and Yunthai would actually go up to 1. Everyone else would just not gain enough.
Want to give it to the old lady, or do you want to give it to Udley?
I want to see how it looks. It looks so great on her!
For who?
If you look at Yunthai, it looks so great on her.
Oh, that fits. She needs it.
Yeah, she needs the old lady scarf.
It's the old lady with the fucking sweatshirt tied around her shoulders.
Yes.
Okay, I guess we do the same scouting thing. Up and down.
Yeah.
8 days away, 8 days away. Why is he 10 days away? Oh, what the fuck are you up to? Okay, let's go.
Ulf is slow, and I'll move everyone down there. Fern, Thirsty, and Drifty.
They're gonna meet up. They're gonna touch hands.
Yeah.
Well, bluebirds, and there they go.
It's Udley time. Folded clouds filter the harshness from the light. Hills swell and sink in soft hues, the day's damp coating them.
River's near. We'll follow it back in the known lands. Ever think about not returning? Who says that?
Yeah.
Even by this age, wanted to be married to someone.
I mean, you're in a polycule.
Udley demands marriage. What?
What? What? Aren't we all married?
Nothing, just said I used to dream I'd get married about a love that makes saving the world possible, not a polykill. So worthwhile.
Look, this is the only way we can afford rent.
She's the angry polykill member.
Like, look, I wanted to just be like love. It's like you're loved every night.
I need more. You have everybody. I need more.
She wants to be the leader, but Thirsty's the leader that keeps everyone together. You wonder why she's called Thirsty, you say?
She's putting in the most work.
Yep. Slope shrugs them down a little valley to riverside. Sounds of rushing water comes clearer, broadening.
Not even a dream, though. Like, a promise to myself.
Like an actual promise?
I sound weird, I know. You'll get used to me.
The river's a low run, life-smelling place. I love her face there.
She's a VTuber.
Fuck you. Oh my gosh.
But you can't force stars to align if you're longings. Can't wrangle love to live happy on your little rants. Just hasn't happened. She wants a polykill ranch. That's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
People like you, you know? You just don't really seem to give them a serious look. Damn. Anyway, you'll find something. Always felt like you would.
Mm. Oh, stop. One of the river sons.
What? Huh?
One glimpse and Uddley pushes forward.
Oh no, Uddley.
A man is kneeling. Dude. A man is kneeling by the river. When he notices them, he straightens, drops some glinting article in the water. His chin tilts. He's undoubtedly a waterling, a mythical being who swims with the river and weaves a song into its current. Uddley moving towards him as a pull catches his eye.
Uddley,
Easy there, don't be too obvious.
Hello? Who am I?
His glance is dark, curious, lingers over Uddley's face. Then he glimmers a starlit grin. And dashes away up the riverbank. Whatever gleaming object he abandoned in the river begins to drift the opposite direction.
Wait, but I...
Do we have her follow?
Is she a fish fucker, fish boy fucker?
Is she a fish fucker? I mean, it's 69%.
She's utterly feet. Oh, it is? For you, for me, it says 70. For you, it says 69?
Yeah, it says 69% for me.
Oh, well, go for the 69. My heart tells me to follow him.
Yeah. Uddley runs, chasing the wind where the man went. The calling voice of her companions fade. Scattered sprays of faraway songs sting her rushing face like the rain, but a gold light falls somewhere further on for her feet to follow.
This place alone is worth the chase.
Oh dear. 6 brooks tumble down near a hillside. Their crackling waters tangle among old handwork stones, corners and bones of a forgotten place in the wild reclaim. One widening stream leaves the ruin to wander the woods and become a river. The chaos of water noise is tied by a singer's tongue into gentle knots of momentary melody.
Here you are.
Here I usually am, and you're slower than I thought. Come down in the water. Oh no. The waterling's voice is powerful and pliant, capable of flowing to all pitches of a scale and the small gaps that split them. Of course the 69% one works.
NB Waterling energy.
Yeah. Uddley you're called. It's a very earthy name, isn't it?
How'd you know?
Your friends use it to invoke you. Sloosh. That's the sound she'll be making later.
That's my sound when I see women.
The stream water soaks Uddley's garments as she wades toward this man.
Well...
You're sharp and quiet as winter. You're strange to me. And yet.
Instinct.
And yet. He slips from the stream and over the crumbling wall in a flash.
Want me to keep falling?
If you would like. Clambering up is somewhat more difficult for Uddley. Do you chase everyone who runs from you? It's fox behavior. It's wild.
Damn, she's a fox. She's you.
No.
Your ugly feet. Congratulations.
I don't want the ugly feet. Her parents hated her. They were like, what's the one letter we can change?
Maybe she was just like, born with little snarled like feet, with little claws.
That's why she's chasing the fish man. She wants her feet to be normal.
I guess so. But your eyes, your funny smile, it was like You were beckoning me? You weren't?
I hate the word he's using. Well, how does a winsome waterling answer such a question? Why is
He's so
winsome a word?
pompous.
Should I use this voice? Well, how does a winsome waterling answer such a question? No, I'm using normal. Here's a view of the lake. You won't know it until you've seen it, and its stars all year round, but here it is. Only follows him past fane trees.
He's gonna die. We didn't spot this place.
Gliding white birds circle, display lilac flames among their feathers. They graze the water, sometimes settle on into gossip with each other. The lake curves around here, whose dark oaks stand. It's wonderful fish.
It's lovely. I see the clouds cleared.
Is it better than where you're from?
Better can be a big word. Really is beautiful, though.
The waterling expels a deep sigh. How long would you stay here?
Welcome in, Drac. Oops, sorry.
Hi, Drac. She's my kappa. We all have to have a stream kappa. Because she fixes most of the shit for
Thank
me.
you for the follow. Thank you.
Yes, follow the sheep. She's a good sheep.
I'm okay. It's Jeej. Fine. Fine, you're a cool teacher.
I am not a cool teacher. I am just teacher.
I'm still not doing gym class.
Fuck you, I'm gonna make you do gym class.
No!
We call this motivation. Uh-huh.
Women.
Women.
Okay, I'll do a little bit of gym.
Good. You better be good at dodgeball.
Oh god, no.
Were you like one of those people in school that was like me, where it's like I did not have a good arm, but I like asked the gym teacher if I could kick the ball at people, and it worked so well?
So I have fucked up nerves, so I can barely lift anything. Like, 40 pounds is my limit.
Just 40 is your limit?
40 with both arms, with both arms.
So you know, like those like machines where you're like laying down,
Yeah.
sort of like thing where you're like
Yeah, the little lift, yeah.
I can get to like 300 pounds with that.
I could do like 180 with legs at a point, but I have really botched nerves apparently, so my legs and feet are just baby mode.
We'll
My
be able to
hands.
fix that soon.
What does that mean? I don't want to go to gym. No.
We gotta make the sheep swole.
Not swole sheep.
Look, having big muscles can make your boobs bigger.
Okay, fine. If I must.
Anyway. Yeah, if you must. Don't you want to break a watermelon with your thighs?
Never mind. Carry on.
I've done that. Anyway. All my life I've seen people pass by. Never wanted to steal one away until today. So I'm I'm just gonna call him Rucky. Will you be my love? My long love, life length or further going? And you'll come and go, I know that. Your task seems important, but if you return to me as you may, and are true, I confess my hope is very dear that you'll say yes and we'll wed.
Damn.
Nobody doesn't need long to make up her mind.
Welcome back, Lucky.
So is she a fish fucker or is she not?
Does she look like a fish fucker? I mean, she can hide her feet in the water. Hi, Jackie. Welcome in.
All I'm thinking is just, like, she just does the meme, like, with Usopp from Code Geass. I will now pleasure myself with this fish.
Oh, no, not this.
She just fucking lifts him up and it's like, hey, have you seen all of those Vaporeon memes?
You wanna know my favorite Pokemon? Don't you? Don't you?
Mine is Porygon Z. I don't know what you're talking about.
Hi, Bono. Welcome in. We're talking about fucking fish.
Yeah.
Fish boy.
I mean, we have a fish in the chat, so hey.
Oh.
I have kidnapped Lucky and brought him to you.
I see. Okay, we'll say yes.
Alright.
Now I see.
Now.
My life's always been flowing towards this moment. Yes.
And you can see little blue hearts coming off of him.
He's so cute.
The two draw closer. A cool breeze jumps off the water. The lake birds gab loudly, then lift off into the sun together.
I am off the menu.
My truest feelings require a little thought, though, I guess. For me as well.
You stole my line, you bitch.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry. I have to go back.
It's okay. No, it's
I
fine.
thought
It's
that
fine. It's
was
fine. It's fine. It's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
It's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
It's
I'm
okay.
leaving.
It's
I'm excited
okay.
for
It's
the fish
okay. It's
fucking.
okay. It's okay. Teacher, go for it.
Okay, fine.
My heart's a forge fire in a gale right now.
A whirl of sparks. I feel it. The blue hearts.
He's gonna fuck her. Eggs are coming.
Oh my god. It's just like he just like drops his little sash, and she's like, "Whoa, why does it have pincers?"
No.
And he's just like, "To grab onto you."
Okay, you have to narrate their kiss.
And their kiss is long, but the pact of love it seals will last far longer. Strong enough, though, for all hours together and apart. As they separate, Guy, like, I'm just calling him Reki, right? Twists and slips a swath of cool fabric over Ali's head to hug her shoulders.
Oh. This is so beautiful.
It'll help me to know my mantle keeps you safe. They part by the entrance to the ruin, promising to meet again, whenever they can, spend peaceful times together. They'll bring stories to each other years on.
Those nunchucks. You were gone too long, we searched.
Ali returns to find her companions to the banks where she first left them. Nice cloak.
Yeah, I caught up to him.
Man, the 69% chance worked. Over dinner, Ali tells them everything, or as much as they need to know.
They need to know about the kiss and the pinchers.
The next morning, they'll finish their survey of the lamb and they'll go, but Ali will always come back.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
I always like that random event. It's a sweet one.
So we can build a outpost.
Well, we might
here.
as well, right? I think you build them everywhere.
So an outfitter to provide
Sheep.
both hides and fabric. Do you want the weaver workers?
Yeah. It's not like sheep. It's like a cow, but it's close enough. It's a cousin.
It's livestock.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The
We gotta
marsh
fight.
fields has been revealed.
You've taken the blankets and the pillow and the food, now it's just a copper wire. Don't take the copper wire. Oh, Discord, I got you. Here you go.
Hey.
And while I get to push myself, I have ASMR. Monster ladies. Okay, I can carry on.
Jeez, you're good on YouTube.
ASMR is a niche that's easy to push. My main YouTube, not so much.
Yeah.
ASMR is a good niche to get into if, like, you would do really well with your voice.
I would, but here's the issue. I need to draw a lot.
I pay for all of my backgrounds.
Here's the issue. I have something called Poor.
Yeah, I found an artist who will design characters for me for $25 a video. Just kidding.
They need to do more money on that.
I agree. But it's a sketch for them, and they just do it. I agree. It's a sketch commission. I've offered more, but we never talk. They've done 12 straight commissions for me. They just take the money. Their status on VGen, I do when I can, as much as I can.
Good.
I work along as much as I can. They had big commissions open once, and they closed before I could get one. I was sad.
Anyway. You can take the red narrator since there's a blue narrator.
The sun's fallen and a silver fog floats from the trees where shadows pool. Am I gonna be thirsty? I'll be thirsty. Thane, stop for a second. We're all getting lost in this stuff. It's thickening.
It's obnoxious being heroes sometimes. Unnatural fogs and things pain the ear. I mean, rear.
The quiet forms a fence around them, impenetrable. The wailing air almost utterly opaque. Drifty?
I think we need to not stand here. Let's get into the trees. At least they're solid.
They halt just inside the shelter of the pines, the dark air clinging wet, the trunks they press to dampen their palms. I don't like tree clinging generally. She's not a tree fucker.
Yeah.
And then something vast moves beside them. Slow, achingly slow. Passes, too enormous to be seen, impossibly silent.
I know this event.
Don't steal this bite the sheep horn. If you're gonna bite the broken one, chip your tooth. I'd believe in anything now.
Lucky, yes please PM it to me.
I hope it works for you.
This event with the giant.
Oh yeah. Night's fallen. The fog wanders away, clinging to the felty outline of that gargantuan shadow.
So do we find Drifty? Or...
They could go now. We could have the girls go and chase after it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you trust them?
Let's send the lesbian crew.
I okay the ear instead.
Well, I did set them to anyone, so they're the pansexual pals.
Exactly. They're gonna smack their pans together.
I mean, she is pansexual. She uses a pan to fight with. She uses her pan to win women.
She's cooking to get women. I appreciate it. I understand.
I mean, yeah. You gotta cook the good food. Come on, Thirsty. Who knows what we'll find? Maybe, you know, mystically beautiful wild woman. I mean, given that Ugly has a freaking boyfriend now.
Wait on, then. Hope you don't mind if I stay ready.
The night emptied of sun. Oh, sorry.
You're good.
I thought that was blue.
You're good. I don't blame you. It's like a reddish purple. The night emptied of silence. Fills again with noise. Crickets and owls and scuttling ferrets.
Ooh, ferrets.
Oh, ferrets. I said ferrets, like Pokemon.
I mean...
It is a ferret, yeah.
Yeah.
Approximating the where the giant had passed, they search. There are no footprints.
Oh, shit. I'm Sorry.
You're excited. Pools of green light are spaced along between the unbroken pine trunks. Perhaps at distances to match the thing's huge strides. Or are there? Even as they watch, the light pools rapidly shrink into the ground, drying, sinking, perhaps just fading in the starlight.
That's beautiful.
Fern runs to stoop over one of these and scrapes the earth away at the head of her weapon. Careful.
Scritch, scritch.
She plucks a glowing seed from the ground as it tries to burrow deeper. It slips her grasp, but then floats, settling in the air.
Rustle, rustle.
Sounds like the mudsucker. What? What is a mudsucker?
I don't know.
I have like some mental images right now.
Like, I think it's like a catfish-looking thing.
Sounds like a monster, and I'd have to say smash if it sinks with the looks how I think. Sounds like the mudsuckers are out tonight, yeah.
Yeah, they're out tonight.
Certainly worth a try.
Drifty!
Drifty finds them.
Hey guys, you ever had a mudsuck?
But so do their enemies. Drifty, not in front of the cat, no.
Disorder.
He's a freak.
Walling provides no armor. Well, shit.
No XCOM. Okay.
Alright.
Come off.
I'm going to get somewhere. Drifty.
I'm gonna do a discus with Thirsty. Watch this. Bam. Bam.
Bonk. Well, I'm going to try to get over here and snipe with... Actually, can I actually shoot from here?
Think so?
Yes, 87%.
Oh,
yay, no,
nice! Nice, good job.
I'm going to take Fern and move here and then Guardian.
She's protecting.
Protect.
The pan that protects.
Oh, jeez. Pansexual pals. Backslam.
You do be pretty powerful.
Yes.
Oh.
Flash cone. Yeah, I'll just blind you. That gets rid of their call thing. Good. Backslam. Actually, yeah. Are we gonna interfuse that to hit him, or what?
I was gonna do the tree, but it hit Fern. And...
I mean, I could move Fern.
Oh, she can? Oh, shit. Okay, yeah, if you can.
Okay, move Fern.
Interfuse. Oh, shit, I undid it already. Oops, oh well.
Oh, well.
It's fine. I'm definitely not trolling.
You troll, I will hurt you.
I'm sorry. Don't make me do exercise, I'll cry.
Exercise.
I didn't say...
Yeah, sure.
I didn't say that one, but no comment. Okay,
Let me move her up here.
Here you go. Bam.
Nice. Let me smack him with a
Fuck
stick.
yourself fit. Exactly.
Yeah. Fuck Yourself Fit is actually a book.
Is it? Interesting.
Yeah. I was trying to get it on Amazon, but then they removed it.
Is it like positions that like make you burn more calories or something for like masturbation? Oh.
Basically. Hey, Fern leveled up.
Nice.
Upgrade Back Slam. Deals half the damage of Fern's armor.
That'd be kind of cool. And it hits 2 enemies. It gives like an AoE smacks.
Honestly, since Fern's gonna be a frontliner, could get Blood Rage.
That could be pretty good.
What about Broad Swipes? Fern's melee attacks deal 3 damage to all their foes within range. Ooh.
You drop in the enemies in the middle.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Blood Rage to start with.
That's fair.
Talisman of Chivalry. Wait. Fern gets the 2.2 armor then.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Let me just see.
How real athletes train. True.
Fern, Talisman of Chivalry.
Nice. This has been really fun so far.
So far, yeah. We could probably make this like a weekly thing, maybe.
I'd be down. Or even like every other week or something. Whatever works. Yeah. Once again, the night air belongs to the songs of ordinary creatures. Everyone still here?
Know what I hate? Night battles. Can't tell why my clothes are wet.
Because of her
She
pan.
looks so smug. She looks so smug.
She knows why. She knows why. I don't trust her.
Is it because it's raining?
The mud sucker.
Or me?
It's the mud sucker.
Mud sucker.
Third and thirsty recount what they saw. A colossus striding silently through the silver fog. 15 never saw more than the great banks of mist separating them. They make a further search for a sign of the giant's passing, but are forced to camp precious hours from sunrise, having found nothing.
No.
Later.
You're an enigma, little seed.
Little seed. Damn, why won't she call me that?
Fucking.
Fern plants it on a sun-blessed hillside in a bed of soft earth. Who knows what will sprout?
Oh my gosh.
The horn children.
A new card is added to the deepest deck.
I love the deck system too of how like it shows the game progression always.
And it does show you like what monsters exist to a degree.
Yeah, and it, like I like when it shows like adding the decks that aren't even in the game. So it shows actually everything but Gorgons is in our game.
Yeah. Let's secure the Port Still Henge, and obviously finding an item.
When the next ad break does hit, I will do a bathroom and water break when I need. But I'll just let you know ahead of time. Yeah, I can feel like the need to do that, but it says it should be in a few minutes because I passed it once. I think like 8:05ish EST. I think it'll hit.
Wait, did we not? Dang it! I hit done.
Are you winning, sons? I think so. We're doing good.
Works established. Yeah.
Had no pain all game. Talk about mudsuckers.
Yeah, mudsuckers.
So that one's the story one, the seal. So we could do the top one first with the trio after they're done.
Yeah, so once the trio's done, they go there.
Because we have 84 days for Calamity, so...
Yeah, so I guess we'll do secure the site and then we send them.
Yeah, that works.
Alright. Do we want, like, these three to do anything?
I mean, we could have them scout the end of chapter area now, if you want. Okay.
Scout.
Go, Ulf Dragon, these nuts. Go, go, go.
Oh my gosh.
You're the one who said it, not me.
I know, but still.
I blame you.
Alright, we have located the seal.
Here, one more hostile site.
I mean, we could send them to scout the other one, too.
Yeah, we might as well. Oh, wait, this one's infested, so we have to deal with it, I think. The Lurking Deepest, Strength 5. Well, we could do this battle and then do ad break.
Yeah, but I do want to get the item first, if that's
okay. That's fair. That's fine. We can wait.
How many days is it? It's 11 days. We can scout in how many days? Not enough.
It'll be fine. I think it's okay.
So, do you want me to send?
Yeah, we can just hit play and let it get the item.
Okay.
I don't think we need to be that sweaty. We're normal difficulty.
Yeah. All right. Plenty to satisfy the curious. Chance to rest our bones too, which is nice. Just Fern.
She's just like,
dude,
what are we doing?
The
All these
cat's
books.
done things to you.
All these books.
Ingots and spell threads. Yes, they're just books.
Wow, it's pretty.
Ooh,
wording.
Talisman.
That's magic protection, right? Yeah.
So Thirsty, Ulf, and Yunthai would gain from it.
Yeah, Uddley's is fucking piss poor. If she dies to magic, poor girl.
Yeah.
We could give it to Olaf and make him really tanky to magic.
Alright, Ulf is our mage tank.
Go
He
get
looks
him,
so
Spoon Boy.
stylish.
He is. He's a little cute guy.
So do we want to send, like, them to scout here and then we just, like, murder everything here, or what?
We could. We could also just send 2 down to deal with this fight on the tile we're on, because it's the fight where we're at.
Yeah.
Uh,
I feel like Drifty can go scout, but then the other 2 can go join in.
that would work. I think that'd be good.
Okay. So, Drifty, you're gonna
Then
go
Catboy
here.
on his own.
Yeah. So, he's got some companionship. And then these 2...
You can just like
how do I...
gather, I think, or something. Or you can even just click the fight.
Send a party to this tile. Hold on.
And yeah, we can choose this and everyone but Drifty.
Yeah, Drifty's going there. So let's go there.
I think you sent him in the battle alone.
Oh shit. Well,
hold. I can fix it maybe, or is it just locked in? I think it'll let us choose. A group of
2 or fewer heroes patrol or take out the source recruiting fact. Oh, it may ambush him.
Oh.
I
don't even have the pop up.
That is like if you hold it down, he might get ambushed.
Do we believe in him?
Let's check his sneaky.
1 armor, 1 warding, 7 out of 7 HP. He's already. I like that with this game, the only thing we're blocking right now is the text box.
Yeah.
Which is literally nothing.
I feel like sending maybe Thirsty and Yunthai.
Yeah, that works.
Alright, on. Scout. So. Oh, there's 16 to. No, he's gonna be fucked.
We'll just have to trust him, I guess.
Alright, we trust you. I mean, we could always just do the battle first.
Right. Could do that right now.
Alright. Wait, locked assault?
I think it's locked into the fight because we already clicked on it. Oh, there you go. Okay.
I mean, we can do patrol.
Yeah, we can do all 5 of these.
Yeah.
We can quickly do this. I'm just waiting to see whenever it says ad starts. Thank you for the crown, honk honk. I'm waiting to see.
We can do the ad thing first, and then we can just like get food and everything.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see when it pops up because I don't have like the little like warning on my end right now when it's coming.
I mean, how often do you have your ads?
Every hour, but I pushed it back once, so it should be like I think in like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Wait, 3 minutes.
I mean, we could just go into BRB first and then
sure.
Fix that because
I could do that.
It might take a bit.
Okay, we'll take an extra 2 minutes just for BRB. We'll be back in a few.
Boop. BRB.
We are back. I'll talk to you guys while she's gone. I'm in power. Hi. Thank you for the follow again, Kimi. Thank you. Yang's still doing her thing. I figure instead of leaving you guys to the quiet, nice, peaceful BRP, I'd yap. No, no, no. I'm in power. Why do you think my name rhymes with bottom? Bottom, autumn, you know? I mean, think about it. I'm not. Like, I mean, seriously. Oh. Look at my content. I'm big now. I'm Lord of the Bottom. Oh. I'm scared. I think she's back. I think she's back. Oh no. Shh. Okay. I'm assuming she's about to be back. That was scary. She moved and got bigger. It's like a statue. I'm like da 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 da. It's like the statues in Doctor Who. I'm here. I'm like I'm a sheep. Da 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 da. And then she just like got bigger. The heck. Yeah, I appreciate everyone hanging out. This game's really, really fun. I recommend it. Between every run, whatever your characters die as, or like you finish with, your characters stay. Like, you can get them in other runs. You never lose your boys. Well, fully. And it builds like a living like lore. And the more you build it, the more characters you have, the more it pulls from, the more RNG with them added in. I mean, really, like, if we look. Let's look at the best character, Ugly Feet. A nice blue cloak draped around her in like a oval. I don't know why it's an oval, but she's ovular. What does it give you? It gives half a point of speed and 1 armor. See? If you love fish people, they give you clothing. That's why I've learned that I am. But I mean, it makes me wonder if you get something for loving anything, right? Like, If I love, what was it, a mudsucker, would I get pottery? Would I get like a weapon? What? Or would I just get weird stares? You know, like... What I mean? Also, has Yang's volume been good so far? Because if I need, I can slightly up the dB past the bass. But I tend to just rock with bass audio for the longest until like I have to up it. I just wasn't sure. Yang comes in like, awesome. Thank you, I appreciate it. If I love anything, they say you were a great friend. Oh man. Just like me. And me to everybody. I love you. Yeah, we care about you too, Autumn. I'm like, damn. Oh, the ad break never happened. It was this far away. Well, I'm snoozing it for a while. I hate ads. I hate ads. I hate ads. She's back. She's moving. She's alive. The statue's alive.
They let me cook.
They let you cook?
They let me cook. I'm sorry, I made dinner.
Oh,
I made dinner.
Was it good?
I've got breakfast for supper.
Nice. Like eggs and stuff?
Oh, no, not eggs. I hate eggs for the most part.
Just
I've
protein?
I mean, I didn't like eggs for the longest time because people always made them incorrectly, even when I ate out. So I was desperate for... Yeah, I was an egg for eggs. And I knew this conversation was coming. I was desperate for, like, any kind of protein, and my paycheck was, like, 2 days away, like, last year. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. What's a very cheap egg dish that I can make at the moment that I can hopefully eat without throwing up? I'm like, I don't have milk for French toast. And I just looked at it. It's like, I can make egg in a basket because I had cheese. It's like, okay, I'll try it. So I just get some white bread, and I hollow out the center, put the egg in, butter in the pan. And it's like, this better be good. I eat it. I don't cook it for too long. And it's like, okay, this seems good. And I take a bite. Fucking delicious.
Nice. Is that what you have then?
No, I have a peanut butter waffle that I made with pancake mix and oats.
Yeah.
I have rye toast with butter and raspberry jam, well, strawberry jam. And I have potatoes with bell pepper and onion.
Cat, she can cook. I'm scared.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I was wrong on the ad timer. It says 3 minutes, but I can snooze it twice if we want.
Oh my gosh.
I thought it was like then. I'll snooze it for now, I guess, but we'll push it away. Or do we want to let it happen sooner during the combat?
Combat, probably.
Okay. So we have an ad coming up in 2.5 minutes for you guys. I'm sorry, I'm bad at time management. I'm too busy thinking about bottom information.
Wait, we actually have to go there and deal with the infestation.
Oh, okay, that works. It's okay, I already planned for this. God damn.
Alright. So I guess assault and then let's go.
Olaf is staying behind. He's chilling.
Yeah.
Bye, Olaf. You're just gonna sit there and be gay alone.
Yeah, alright.
Pulls out picnic basket. No, you're role-playing in my chat.
Wait, no, we could patrol. Oh, no, we can't because we're going to attack. Fuck.
Right.
Oh, well,
okay,
whatever.
I think it'll be fine. Away they go. I hope your food's good, though. I just got water.
It's so fucking good.
Nice. I already had my dinner earlier.
I sleep late, so I always eat late.
I eat an early dinner, and I inevitably have a nice snack after streams.
What's your go-to?
Lately it's been cheese and crackers, trying to be a little healthier.
Oh, right. I also have peppermint tea.
Ooh, nice. That sounds good. Do you want me to read this narration while you eat then?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll take over thirsty then.
No worries. Old-formed caverns stretch beneath Volvic's drop. Fern, don't fall in a random crack.
That you with a scuffy shuffle?
Only their back barking echoes answer them.
When you're plugged up for the night?
Wait, where's Fern? How many breaks does she have to take?
Wait, I thought she was right. I thought, this place lies to your ears, I guess. It's their territory, the deepest. I expect they'd know it better than we do.
They scour their steps for the last sign of Fern.
Be mindful you don't break your neck, anyone, myself included. Here's where she went. I'd bet anything.
Oh, it's the Heart of Stone! An almost triangular crevice and beyond is a tight, twisting tunnel. Below them in the coldening ground in the fungal glow.
Yep, this is exactly the thing I ought to be doing. By myself, me and this unspooky mushroom. Oh, and the treasure cave, that is. I suppose what this is.
Okay, guys, you guys have ads coming in like 12 seconds. Hopefully they're short. We'll see you guys after. We're gonna continue through this to get to the fighty.
Subscribe to the sheep so you don't have ads.
Yeah, give me your prime. Nom nom nom. Under blade sharp stones, a wider space, a firmer shine. There's a powerful smell, a heart smell, the heart of the mountain. In a first glance, she thinks a massive gray man is hunched over a blue-white flame. Big old guy. But she realizes...
Hey! What? What are you?
Golem rock, cut and graven.
I expect you to probably sprout tentacles when I touch you, and you clench me up. Squeeze my ribs to
God,
splinters.
I would.
That's fucking hot.
Glad we agree.
Whose gem is that, though? Because is it yours or mine?
Is she a gem stealer?
Let's see if she wants the Prince Albert.
Oh no!
Roll on the D20. If it's over 10, she'll steal it. I rolled a 6, she's gonna honor it.
Oh.
What did you want?
I don't mind either. Wait, it's the Prince Albert has me rolling.
Do you want her to steal the Prince Albert?
We'll go with the dice. We'll go with the dice.
Okay, it was number 2.
Really is a small gesture.
I hope you weren't one of those cruel gods.
Dabs a cloth in pine oil and polishes the gemstone the fragrant brightness, and then she leaves. It's odd, there are many times you actually find a buried treasure. Theron wonders why she didn't feel like taking it.
Fine. Thirsty? Sounds like you. That's good then, because it is.
Feels like a sitcom laugh track moment.
What are your thoughts on old crusty deities? I mean, gilfs?
Reunited, they move on and soon emerge to fight another desperate fight. But ever and after, tucked underground, a stone-shearing god will dream of her, and Fern will be protected.
Hey, what you get?
Oh, it's passive warding. Okay.
Nice!
I've never done that option. I've always done the steal option. Well,
now you know that gets you warding.
Yeah.
She's now a Greenhorn Hunter.
Is she gonna be thorn-thinged like a Black Widow? She killed her lover secretly. Fox. You can also re-roll and we can use LP. That's probably not worth it for the first one.
Nah, I think Fox Flight would be good.
It's new coded. It fits. One more minute of ads, so yeah, they'll reappear during this. Cause yeah, I have the 3 minutes of ads every hour.
Same.
There's just bad timing with the one pushback. Oh yeah, I get thirsty and I get ugly. Ugly. Oh, it's the horn child. Beat up the kid.
Oh, wait, what the fuck did I do? Shoot.
Damn.
And shoot. Good.
Yeah, they were together, Edley and Drifty.
Ever since you got that cat.
I'll control you and you do thirsty, I guess, here?
Of course, I get thirsty. I fucking love Mystics, by the way. I love the class.
You are thirsty, I'm gonna say it.
I've got tea right here, yeah.
No. Just fits you, you know?
Really?
Yeah. Thirsty Vox lady, they're always horny.
I mean, everyone loves that. Wait, have you played Cultist Sim?
I have.
You know Azim, the second Thirstily?
I never got that far because I sucked.
It's one of the summons you can use.
I never got to do a summon because I sucked.
You never got to use a summon?
I was really bad and struggling. I need my hand held through that game. I wanted to play it so bad, but it was just...
I mean, I could teach you it. It's fairly easy once you know what you're doing.
It would probably help, because I can do the... Thank you for the follow, GD. I appreciate welcome to the flock. I've played a lot of, like, the library one that I think they made also. That one I understand. Yeah. But not Cultist.
Book of Hours makes more sense, yeah. It's more...
Cultist Sim, I always just fucking fucked.
Because in Cultist Sim, you have lose conditions. In Book of Hours, they made it specifically about, like, being chill.
Book of Hours is a really nice, like, chill, like, thinky game.
I need to buy it.
It's a good game. My brain approved.
Mm-hmm.
Autumn seal of approval.
I'm gonna get this dude. Actually, no, wait. You can just discus that one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Damn. 2 for 1. Okay, get that 40%. You suck, Yunta.
Did not mean to do that, but okay.
Seal. I do have a seal, yeah.
Slam.
I stole a seal from the zoo.
Fern's just a mage, she just has cast iron as a spell, though.
Oh, cast iron death.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Drifty's
Go,
cat
Drifty.
fucking just said no.
Mm-hmm.
I'll kill the horn chat, never mind. You gonna discus? Let's see it. 2 for 1. 2 for 1.
Oh, shit. Yay. Oh,
damn,
so close.
7 damage. Holy. You could have Fern get the kill.
I was gonna shoot him with Drifty.
Nah,
because Drifty needs the level.
Oh, right. I forget you get XP for killing.
Yep.
Just forget about that.
Oh, come on.
3 of them are getting close. Oh!
Oddly and Yontai are now rivals.
She hates the old lesbian.
She realized she has more skill than the polycools.
Why do you let this bitch in?
Star Slate we're getting so much warding.
Yeah, I mean...
Okay, who needs the blowjob knee pads?
Probably Utley for her water boy, right?
The water boy? Okay, we'll give it to Utley.
Oh, Utley!
She looks so silly with her cloak and knee pads.
If you look at the cloak, it's like an oval around her body. It's really weird.
She used some of that sticky tape.
The blowjob water bodies. Hi, dude.
H2O.
Wait, dude, who do you loathe and who do you love?
Excuse
you hate
me,
somebody. Frogs are mean. They just play Maple Story.
Yeah, do you want to secure this place before we go?
Yeah, I think we should.
Alright. Find an item, because we might need to get more freaking knee pads for everyone.
They gotta get equipped. I hope you're having a good night, dude. Welcome in.
I also like how you can see the Stone Guardian here. Oh, jeez.
It's really cool. None of those are too annoying. I'd be down to just keep points, but...
Yep.
I tend to only, like, say no to stuff later. We're playing...
So we don't have to... we don't have to worry about the Gorgons or the Lizard People, so it's just... more
the Lizard
foggy.
People are in it, it says. They're just not
the
yet.
Droven.
Yeah. No Gorgons. No tentacles.
Oh, that's good.
Damn.
They're kind of overused. Anyway.
I like tentacles.
Tentacles are fun, but only if you have the tentacles.
No, I like... Never mind. You guys are playing out. Nice! Hope you and Jeet had fun. Jeet is #1 model mom.
The snake stone strap. Make it dodge.
Who's getting strapped up?
Who gets the strap on?
That's what I'm saying. Is it Yuntai? Is it Thurn? I could see it on Thurn.
Fern with the strap on.
They could be thirsty.
Honestly, thirsty with the strap on makes a lot of sense.
It'd be fucking goofier with Ulf.
He went to Bad Dragon. You know what? Fuck it. Bad Dragon gets the strap on.
He doesn't want to use his, okay? He's saving it.
Alright, so let's go... Who do we want in this combat?
I mean, we do still have the fight on the tile, but it's not the main fight. The Lurking Deepest to fight.
Yeah.
We could
Well, we need to assault, and then we can...
Right.
Claim and then get an item, maybe. Oh, shit. Sorry, flies.
Maybe everyone but Yuntai do the original squad?
Yeah, sure. OG squad. Sorry. No lesbian.
Sorry, old lesbian. You gotta sit one out.
Alright, thirsty. Let's go.
I like that. I like it when you... It's weird when the other player makes choices, you just can't see. That's
Sorry.
weird. No, it's fine. I don't mind. It's just funny. They don't give you any visual as the other one.
Man, there's a lot of terrible people here. We just see all the horny statues.
Sorry, it was mine. I sometimes forget, I think.
Sometimes I forget, I think.
Me too, I forget I think too. There's people that feel isolated and hopeless enough to sit at a lonely, evil-belching place like this. Well, excuse me, I'm depressed, Missy. Fuck you, Miss Sunshine Ugly. They followed the spare sketchy map on the underside of the statue. Landmark by landmark of plenty of happenings between home and here.
Clatter. Clunk.
Am I doing things? Oops, okay, you got it.
I'll get her because you have the narrator. Fern, I'm not gonna hesitate. Don't you hesitate either. If there's people left, we'll be able to tell the difference. We'll keep an eye on each other Thursday.
Soft light and low noise comes on the corner. Are they gonna kiss?
Kiss. Master Snow, you old turkey, that's what you sent me to do. It's really, really wretched.
Milling in the near dark, deepest mutter and stamp, rotten hide and humans refuse, reek on the air.
Human refuse, I think.
Oh, refuse.
Like,
oh, you're right. Refuse.
Like
My
poop.
bad. Yeah, human poo-poo. We're in the poo-poo shack.
This is why we're fighting them. We don't want the scat.
When's the collab on the bliss?
Oh my gosh.
I'm not talking about.
I mean, you have my curiosity piqued. Squeeze me.
It'd be up to you. That'd be up to you. I'm never gonna push someone to go on the blue site. That is a.
I have never actually streamed on there, I will say.
It's fun in the way of depending on how you do it. I can tell you after how I do mine.
Yeah, sure. Okay, there's that one with the Slayer.
Oh, and then I get Thirsty and you get Thorn, or do you want to do Thirsty? Oh, I already had two. It doesn't really matter. You can have Thirsty. You can have Thirsty.
I mean, we can just both combine with Thirsty. Hold on.
Blue Twitch is something.
Yeah, Blue Twitch is
I enjoy it. I do very horny, pun intended, content on there. I have to watch my words because we're on Twitch.
I don't have to. Penis, 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 balls.
We use toys that are controllable.
Oh! That's the fun thing because I have a lot of knowledge in that for fun reasons.
Me too. I've done both sides.
Alarm. So we could just open this door and just kind of shoot the fuck out of all of them.
I'm down for it.
Okay. I'm gonna get Fern over there.
I'll get Adley over
the Power Ranger polycule!
Don't get me banned. Fuck you, dude. You play Maple Story. I said it once, I'll say it again.
Get her a ban gang? Look, I've said some nasty things and Twitch doesn't even give a shit.
I'm usually like, I feel comfortable not actually get banned, but I'm just a scaredy cat.
There's very little I can interfere with, so I'll get the lamp.
I've never been in trouble with them. I don't want to be in.
Flash cone to make you hidden.
Like, I didn't get to show you before, Yang, because I fixed it, so I have an issue with my model, right? Not an issue.
Yeah.
The way Jeej sent it to me, whenever I open VTube Studio, the panties are always off.
Oh my god.
So I always have to do a panty check before I stream.
Just lift up the freaking, you know,
I just pull the model up, I'm like, oh, okay, there's a little bit of skin. Well, can't have that.
I mean, here's the funny thing. I don't have to worry about that because I don't wear them.
Well, frick you, lady.
Uh-huh.
I needed them so Twitch wouldn't kill me.
And I just wear shorts.
Why am I always attacking Maple Story? I don't know.
Can I shoot one of you dudes? I could shoot one of you dudes.
I'm gonna kill the horn child.
Okay. Is there anything else that Thirsty can interfuse with? Yes. Skull.
Is it gonna be
And
Bone
then-
Lance?
Bone Lance those dudes.
Thirsty's
Oh,
giving
that's
them
good.
the bone. Damn. The
You guys
combat in
want a
this game's
bone?
satisfying.
It's so good.
What do
I
I
love
even
how the
play?
Mystic is.
I play 14 duo and I stream.
Oh, it's Father Fungus. Ugh.
He's big boy. He has fungus on his...
Fungus on his jungus.
Exactly. Okay, we killed that one. Am I sub to 14? I am. I was playing it before stream.
I think we could just murder this
I
dude.
think we can just beat his shit in.
Yeah, blood rage, and then we just shoot him in the kneecaps. Nice.
Just message me after stream and I will. You should play 14, Yang. Join the curse.
Here's the thing, I tried it, I fucking hated it.
Is it the story or like the combat? Or...
The
I can
beginning
understand a
was
lot of
annoying,
those. Fair.
and it took me like a good not 8 hours, like a good 3 hours just to even get to any combat. I was just reading the entire time.
My tip, if you ever retry it, is you literally ignore anything that's not voiced in the first like expansion of the game, like the base one.
I can't do that.
That's
I
fair.
like to read the lore.
I mean, I do, but it's bloated is the problem. That's why I go against my will. I'm sorry, I'm a bad influence of librarian. Don't tell on me.
I'm
We
a bad
travel for
influence of a
beverage.
fox, for sure.
I know you are. You're telling me to do exercise. How dare you?
Look, exercise is nothing.
It's scary.
Wild grasp.
Shot him.
Grab on. Actually, can I discus him? No, I can't. Can I wild
Andre,
grasp him?
first time playing, so boring. But you bought MSQ skip. Tell her to drop and give her 90. No, I would die. No.
So here's a funny thing. I actually did that to someone, and they fucking did push-ups, and they said they haven't done push-ups since they were in boot camp.
I have not done any, like... I haven't had to do, like, any intense exercise in school. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay. I don't need to go back to school. It's okay.
Oh, Thirsty was nearly leveled up.
Oddly leveled up. Let's go, Oddly. Thirsty.
Who gets
should
that
get the-
armor?
I think we get the Thirsty.
Let's see everyone's armor. Ulf would actually lose warding.
They both lose one warding for it, but they gain armor. And Ulf already has a really high warding, so we could give her higher armor.
Yeah.
Thank you for the lake, Lucky. Autumn can't do one. I can't do a push-up.
Yeah, let's give it a Thirsty.
Because of my nerve issues.
Yeah, true.
It's really sucky, because, like, I always did bad in gym, and I just assumed it was my laziness, but it's actual just nerve problem.
Yeah.
Is he a
Thrifty.
bard?
I don't know. I don't want Foxlight from Bar. Drifty reduces the cost of recruit jobs by 1. Wait, what?
We can recruit more people.
Ooh.
Because when you go to a town, you can recruit, and he lets us recruit cheaper for points.
Right. Plus 5 stunt chance to all heroes in the party. Yeah, you know what? Sure. Bard. Hey!
Oddly.
Is Oddly a bard? Actually.
Oddly. I kind of like Thorn thing, but Through Shot's nice. Because we don't really have fire magic for Ember Arrows right now.
Yeah. Or taking a turn to light a lamp.
Yeah, let's remove adjacent to a fire if I upgrade it.
Ooh.
I'll grab it. Sounds fun. She's a pyromaniac now.
Yeah. Hey, look, she did that!
She got named Uddly.
Keep that fire going. Let it all go up.
They file out as this blue underground becomes the belly of a furnace. I'm taking a break now. Any objections? You old man still? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
right.
I
The
was
ensuing
taking a sip of
fall.
tea.
Okay, no worries.
I'll take
I
a
was just
sip of
checking.
tea,
Okay.
A recruiting hub is what this place sounds like, not a meaningful center of their worship. No, wide-reaching warrant, am I right? We thought the same. I still want that bread on the table.
You're just gonna steal it?
I'm gonna steal their
I'll
bread.
steal the cheese. It looks a little funny. It's a little dingy.
Emmental. I need to get you some games when I have enough money. We gotta play Takoyaki Survival Edition.
What is takoyaki, huh?
Takoyaki Party. It's basically a fucking game where you eat takoyaki in order to live.
What the hell?
It's like $3. It's great.
You have to link it to me, or in case I can buy it if it's goofy.
Yeah, it's one of those games where you like all get takeout together and you just like chat about
Oh.
nonsense. It's like one of those games that you play instead of just chatting, but
Yeah, like there's something in the background.
yeah. Anyway, the possibility exists that you've done enough, but even a burnt hand will reach into the pan again, albeit with added caution. I hope you'll stay ready. Look to fight. I hope truly that no more fighting is needed. Soon I'll be home with my sister. Oh no, the Gilf is dying.
Young in the snow, the hill mage dies that next spring. Celebrated years will pass, failing to last as long as folks wish.
Oh fuck, they have to divide all the stuff from him, or the
Yeah.
polycule.
Divide up the polycule.
11 years of peace follow.
So depending, I know, like, I don't know how long you do want to do this, because we could either just, like, yap for a while longer and then transition into your thing and, like, wrap it up to an even 3 hours, or we can do more game, depending on you.
We can just talk for a while.
Okay.
I do plan on streaming.
Okay, I know you
like,
did
for
plan
a
on
short
streaming
time
after,
tonight.
so I didn't want to, like, use up your voice too bad with more right now.
I have a strong voice because I
fine.
hike.
I don't do exercise.
Your victory has undermined their plans. They've been weakened. Well,
We
they have
can
less
do all
armor.
of
That's
our
good.
post-game stuff, and then, well, post-chapter. Oh. What the hell? Do you see it? The little,
Just the arm.
the little guy.
He's just a little guy. Well, I'm
intended-
following you now.
Yeah, Fern tended her mystic seed until one day it sprouted. Well, maybe sprouted wasn't the right word. It burst up in a shower of dirt, producing small fawn noises.
What is this? A sentient cone? I was hoping for something edible. Not with that attitude.
You just eat it.
Yeah, just cut them up, make a salad.
Its growth would be incredibly slow, but perhaps endless. Oh, is it gonna grow into one of those? 11 years of peace.
She's got a duder.
Bottom up. Oh my, she does. Damn, she's giving him the fucking
Yeah.
She's about to pounce him at that water.
Much of the time that passes, Udley and the Wardling Reginald. You know what? Fuck it, Reginald. Their great love washes strife and sorrow away in its force.
Damn, gentle voice.
Mm.
Aww, good for Ulf. Ulf fell for a shepherd he noticed in the hills. Hand in hand, they would follow the flock for hours. Sheep! In contented silence.
I mean, he's a good person for the polycule. He likes sheep.
Exactly!
Not that way. Not
oh
that
god,
way.
no, he's not Welsh.
The muscles in Yunthal's back began to knot more tightly in the mornings, and it took longer to unwind them. She began to run her hands over the bark of trees
She's
with more sympathy
old,
than
she's a
before.
silver fox.
I mean, she's like 47, so now she's
She
like
was,
58.
yeah, she's like in her 60s or something almost. Yeah, she's old. She has one last
Yeah.
adventure in her.
Yeah.
Damn, look
So-
at him. He's a silver fox too now.
Everyone's getting silver.
Yeah.
Alright, so who do we upgrade is the question.
Doesn't look like we can do like any bows.
We
or
do have
melee
the
weapons.
armor thing unlocked, too.
Yeah, I'm curious about the armors.
So, we have
Archer
Scale?
Crate. Oh.
There's River Scale, which is less speed and dodge, but more of everything for defensive stuff. There's the Scoth, which is more warding and dodge, fashioned for the fray, which I have no idea what that means.
Fern gains plus dodge when she isn't wailing. Walling. Not wailing. Walling. So we're not against a wall, you dodge more.
There's the Cowling, which is more warding than anything,
The
which looks like it's a
caster.
ranger.
Yeah.
And then there's Clate, which is more
Big
of just
armor?
heavy armor and less speed,
I mean,
for
that
sure.
could
She
be
actually
good
gets
for-
negative speed.
That could be good for Fern if we want to just go in on the armor thing. But no, we didn't go with the thing where she deals damage based on armor.
Oh shit! Mornclate. When guarding, Fern gains +1 armor and warding until the start of her next turn.
That's really good. I'd be down
And she
for
gets
that.
3 armor. Yeah, that's nifty. Oh, she
Craft
goes
it?
full paladin after.
Oh, she
I like that.
does. That's cool.
And we can craft that without legacy points. Do you want
Mm-hmm.
to go for that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Alright. You know what? No,
should we maybe make her like a real weapon, like a flail or something, or are we keeping the frying pan?
I feel like she needs a hammer or something.
Because we could give her a mace or a warhammer, or...
Hold on. What do I call her clothes? Hold on.
We could give her a flail. Oh, the flail buffs spell damage.
Really? Okay.
Interesting. So that's more of like a melee caster. That's for like the Spellblade Mystic then. Probably. Huh.
Alright, her armor's named.
What'd you name it?
I spelled it wrong, shit.
An unforgettable lunch.
It's just leftover kitchen utensils made into armor.
We could still give her, we could give her a common mace and just go on and
give her a
upgrading
mace, yeah. What else does she have for like offhands? Hold on, let's see.
We could give
she
her
get a two-handed weapon.
Shield, or we could give her a two-hander.
Wait, they can dual wield in this mod, right?
Right. You could give her a jug of ale and she could drink.
I'm looking at what we can do. So we have the strong drink, which grants +2 damage and -10 accuracy to it or herself or a nearby ally.
The rope is cool. I've never thought about using it.
Let's see the rope.
Resilient rope that can be used to pull allies out of dangerous situations.
Spiked shield, that's bashing. Large shield, less speed but more block. And then just more block in general. What's this?
Oh,
one?
it's poison.
Medicinal drink. Oh, geez, that's expensive.
Yeah, that's like the later tier stuff with the mint sauce. Don't eat sheep. No eating sheep.
Eat sheep.
Oh. Eat fox, don't eat sheep.
Don't eat me.
Eat the predator, not me.
What? You do realize that that's not good for the meat.
That's not my problem.
Let's look at what everyone else would need first.
Thank you for the head pat, thank you. Udly or Ulf could get real armor, any of the others.
Honestly,
we probably
yeah,
shouldn't give anything to Yunthai, because she's old.
Oh, we would have to spend legacy points for her.
Yeah, she's old. She is... I think she's
Yunthai, we give her stuff when we get to her.
We could give, like, a wand to Ulf or something.
I vote for the wand, yeah.
Okay, I'll make him his wand. I'm gonna name it.
Where are you gonna name it?
Don't judge me, guys.
Is it the Vibe Scepter?
No, I'm gonna name it the Sounding Rod. I'm gonna make him on a chat full-on. The item description is
He likes a shepherd and he has the Sounding Rod. Oh my god.
And I give him the frowny face as the description.
It's a fucking frowny face.
The lamb. Fox is too chewy. Huh. Do people eat fox? Huh.
No.
I didn't think they would.
The temptation to give him a rope is also very...
You could give him the rope to pull people out. You could have it.
Oh my gosh.
You could be support. We give him it? He looks like he'd have rope.
He does, honestly.
Or we could give it to Thirsty, because they both have a one-hander still right now.
Actually, Thirsty could use, like... Actually, the sickle counts as a flail. Hold on.
Oh, with the mod changes, interesting.
Oh, the flail is less accuracy.
What
does a
yeah,
rapier
it's
do?
Accuracy.
Rapier's less damage.
But it gives you stunt damage and spell damage, I think is the difference.
Which is good because that breaks armor.
Hi, Quackaman. Hi.
Wait. Okay, the flail can hit AoE.
Yeah, the flail has AoE hit.
I vote we do that.
Okay, for Thirsty.
Yeah, for a flail. Yeah, let's get Thirsty
give her a flail. What are you gonna name it? Oh no, this bitch is about to be a pain giver. Thirsty.
No.
Oh, okay.
I've got some other things.
Oh no. This is why you can't trust foxes. They're all too horny. I said it.
There you go.
Not too.
There is a freaking mod that lets you do these. Look, we gotta get the T-shirt that has the werewolf breeding company.
I think that's
Isn't it great?
It is. We can still do the rope. We still
Oh my god, who gets the rope?
I'm voting for my boy Ulf dragging these nuts.
Ulf gets a freaking rope.
I can random the name. Oh, I can't. I'm gonna give it a name.
Okay.
What do I name rope? I have ideas. Am I being horny or am I being say-so?
All.
I like this concept. I'm gonna name it this to be funny.
Let's see what you named it. Yeah, Shibari for Dummies is great.
He's trying his best. He doesn't have a book, okay? It's just visual reference.
Fucking visual reference.
I think that's all, right? I think we just go next, and then I think it's saved.
I mean, we could spend, like... Oddly, it needs armor. We could spend a couple legacy points if we need to.
Can you spend LP for armor? Oh, you can.
You can, but that is... Oh, that's expensive.
We could just wait. Man.
Oh, hold on.
There's a lot of archer armors in there.
Yeah, like the Swathe gives Swashbuckler. On killing an enemy, plus 28 stunt chance until stunned.
Oh, yeah.
Granted, that is more, it's like if we give her a sword, but still.
Yeah.
What is a hasping?
I like the third one. It has like little like fucking like scale mail like arm guards.
Like the deteriorated Thornbark?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
That's less speed for her, that's the only thing.
Right. Well no, the one under it, the deteriorated Greybark. It's ranged accuracy and armor.
Ooh.
And she is ranged, so I think that one might be good because she is just doing ranged right now.
Yeah.
But it is 4 LP.
Yeah. I'd say we could go for it. She needs actual armor.
Just a casual reminder, this is you, right? That's me.
Listen, can we actually scrap her shield or something? No, we can't.
Yeah, we can't. I wish we could give it to someone else.
Yeah, same.
Just because I lick the screen doesn't mean anything, okay? God.
Man, there's so many things we could do.
Reminder of the
Pokemon tier list. I'm concerned about.
I said a lot of smashes. Okay, I'm sorry.
I actually did not have many smashes simply because I'm not like freaking. What was the word for
Any baby mon I say no to or dog mon, so I don't get screamed at white woman.
Well, yeah, but still. I mean, there's some obvious outliers that everyone will fucking say.
Yeah, we don't talk about the Pokemon Smasher Pass.
Ult up Typhlosion.
Yes, okay. We can keep the name Deteriorated Greybark, I guess. I don't really care about the name too much. It'll probably get replaced by something.
Yeah.
Drifty could get armor, or Ulf next. I mean, we could make 3 pieces of armor and just spend our LP.
Does Drifty have any armor? Drifty still has the hunter armor. I think he's good for now.
Okay. And Ulf has the basic armor. I think we're good there. We have 8 points still.
Yeah.
You brought us upon us. They're arguing. I'm good to hit next then and end the chapter.
Yeah. I'm just looking at...
Oh, sorry.
We're good. I was looking through, like, the designs of, like, what would fit them.
Why is she so happy? Oh, that guy's in terror. Ugly, you don't have to be a villain. He was a courageous and youngish man who witnessed a night spot swelling. Hoyan. What the hell? That it just happened one day. There were cultists cropping up in the area, and he knew getting closer meant death, so he came to us. Mysterious shadow has begun to dominate the distant sky. Udly, Ulf, Drifty, and the others. So go to discover its origin, and hopefully to bring back daylight. Interesting.
Daylight.
So I think you can hit, like, escape and save, I think?
Yeah. I'm going to...
then we could yap for a few more minutes, and then you can slip out and go start your stream if you're doing it immediately. I don't know what you are.
I will do it immediately, because I want to do stuff. I will change around some Twitch settings. Anyway, yeah, I don't know what exactly I'm going to do. Anyway,
play something fun. We'll obviously raid in the U and drop everyone on the U.
Yeah, I'm going to kidnap everyone.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta pick another time to do it.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm definitely down to keep doing this every like so often or whenever in a blitz. I mean, I figured we'd get at least 2 chapters done.
No, we were too silly.
Yeah. It was a fun 3
I don't know
hours.
what I'm going to do.
Maybe play like a basic like game the Yap to the background.
Maybe I might draw.
Drawing's fun.
I'm not in the mood to
Art's
draw.
cool to watch. Maybe.
See, I want to work on like TTRPG stuff and everything.
Maybe do that.
Yeah, I might kidnap some people.
I'll watch as a DM and I'll stare and I'll be like,
Well, it's not D&D, that's the thing.
Yeah, I know, I did Pathfinder myself.
It's not Pathfinder, it's a thing that I'm making because I got tired.
Oh, your own system. Oh.
It is not my own setting, but it is my own system. Fate, Grail Wars, Servants, you know, the usual. And I got tired because the 2 settings that were actually made by fans are basically worse versions of Call of Cthulhu and just D&D anyway.
Yeah, Call of Cthulhu is a good base, but it doesn't work.
I mean, I could kidnap you and explain how the game works to you.
If you want to, I don't mind. I have time.
Snag. I'm gonna give you the hands key for my server just in case anyone else wants to join in. Yes, the hands key. It's all important for if you ever need to go into the streaming booths. I assume you want the red key as well.
Yeah.
For not safe for work. Because there is the Tasteful Sensei Fox Archives.
Sounds good, sounds good. I'll get the raid thing ready, but not hit enter yet, obviously, and give you time to like get it all set up. You can probably just stay in call while you set it up.
Yeah.
And just keep yapping.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be working on some other things in the background.
It makes sense. It was a fun collab. Wildermyth's one of those games that really needs people to make it fun.
I know, yeah, you can't just like read it on your own.
I've done it on my own, but it just it gets draining.
Yeah. I will probably turn off the VTube studio thing.
That's fair. That's fair. It's a big like drain.
It is. So leave.
I'm alone.
The fox has left the.
I have a voice in my head.
Gay, homosexual, gay.
Wow. It's
Let
like
me get my
still
tablet
here.
real quick. I'm not dead yet.
She's dead. You heard her. I heard dead yet. The sheep killed the fox.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
There are 2 wolves inside of you. One is gay. You're gay. The other is gay. You're gay.
There are 2 wolves inside of you. Man, the furry convention's going well.
I was supposed to know she was gonna smash everything with legs. I warned you I'm a freak. I told you guys. I'm in the vor. What can you expect? That's like a basis like filter. Don't spray me. Bottom. The fox isn't on screen. They absorb all the bullying.
How do I know? She smash everything with legs! I mean, here's the real question. How many legs are we talking here?
I don't know. Anything like bipedal or with 4 legs? I don't know. Or more.
Man. I mean, there's the obvious ones where like everyone's like, oh yeah, God Divorce hot and everything. But then it's like...
I went wild.
This is before those revelations. I mean, yeah.
I used to be say-so on stream.
You did. You really fucking were.
You know, I used to be really pure.
And here's the thing, it's like, before I got my Tonkana Gahoogs, I was very, like, normal, but I was swearing like a fucking sailor. But then I was, like, realizing, hey, wait a moment, I could just say whatever the fuck I want, because I moved out of a place that I hate. Yeah. Still live at 2 a.m. Roderick, why are you fucking... Oh my gosh. This bunny, this French bunny, I need to fucking destroy so that he gets a good sleep for once.
Go listen to ASMR and sleep, or listen to a fan and sleep, or a whale. Or your inner thoughts.
No, don't listen to the inner thoughts. That's why they can't sleep.
Shit, listen to a fox fad. Shameless
gay,
plug.
Homosexual gay.
I stay up till 4 a.m. every night. I can't talk.
I mean, yeah, same. It's going to be less tonight because we have an extra hour because daylight savings time.
I'm staying up later.
I mean, I'm going to try to fix my fucking sleep schedule because
That's
I have to
right.
freaking do everything. But it's like, even then, I really don't want to.
Because the high quality streams I come here for. Thank you. I'll even sit to that. See?
Man. Alright, let me get the RuneScape
Oh wait, my
soundtrack.
panties are...
Really? Yeah. Oh, fuck me.
Okay, no one tell Twitch.
Twitch can go shove it. I mean,
We're
so
good
long
now.
as the goods are covered, you're good.
They are, but it was thigh showing. Don't clip that. No.
Clip it, clip it, clip it, clip it, clip it, clip it, clip it.
You're a bad influence.
I am a bad influence. Thank you for noticing.
I'm gonna fight you.
And I will win because you're freaking nerve damaged.
Okay, and I'll fight you and I'll lose and it's fun to fight.
There are so many things that I could say to make you just freaking be on the floor screaming, face covered by your hands.
No. I'm immune.
Guess what?
What?
I know how to get rid of immunities.
How's that?
You know, the easiest way to counterspell anyone or stop someone from casting is just to kiss them. Because that stops both the somatics and also any vocal spell casting. Holding their hands at the same time also makes it very hot and efficient as well.
It does. It's a good buff.
I'm
going back up to full size.
Can't win. Anyway, I'm gonna go live.
You're going live? Okay, I'm getting the read.
Going live.
You're live?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna send you guys over to Yang. She's continuing the party. I'll probably join her VC thing, I think.
Me.
And chat over there for a bit, but it's more fun. Yang's gonna do RPG stuff, apparently. I think.
TTRPG stuff, yay!
You clipped it? Oh no. I'm doomed. I appreciate the collab. It was really, really, really fun.
It was so fun.
There. Obviously, this is a random raid. We don't know who this is. Oh my god, who is Yang? Whoa.
Oh my gosh, who am I?
I'm gonna send you guys over for her. I'm assuming starting soon screen. Okay, see you guys. Yeah. Bye.
You all be good and bully her for me.
Don't empty my fridge. Bye-bye.